everyone, and welcome back to the Project Manga Podcast, where we cover Ayashimon, Sakamoto Days, Mission Yozakura Family, Jujutsu Kaisen, My Hero Academia, and One Piece week to week. Back this week for Weekly Shonen Jump issues number 21 and 22. I'm Nox.
I'm Melienis.
And we're joined by our good buddy Yato Gami. You might know him from Twitter. You might know him from the Discord. He recently was a guest on our Special Grade podcast. So we figured, let's bring you over to the main show. Yato, what's going on, man? Thanks for joining us, bro.
What's going on, guys? Glad to be back. I was here, it's about 2 or 3 weeks ago. It's fun.
Yeah, man. For our audience that might not be familiar with you, why don't you take a couple moments to let the audience know who you are and what you got going on.
Yeah, so Yatogami, also on Twitter known as Yatoplayz with a Z. I stream on Twitch a little bit, not too much. I've been slacking, but most people that watch, and if they know me, they'll know me from the Discord as one of the guys that deletes spoilers and shares new chapters of manga. Also doing the same thing on Twitter, but that's about it.
Yes, sir.
I'm chilling.
Hell yeah, man. I'll get Yato's Twitter, link down in the description, his, Twitch link, pretty much anywhere that you can find Yato, we'll go ahead and throw that down in the description for you. While you're down there, slap a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new here, because we upload weekly, and we're constantly talking about manga. There's also going to be down in the description links to follow us on all of our own individual social media accounts, links to our Discord so that you can join our ever-growing community. There's going to be links to listen to the Project Manga Podcast anywhere you normally listen to your podcasts. And if you want to support what we do directly, check out our Patreon. We'll put that link down in the description as well. And that's where you can see perks like early access to all of our content and additional manga reviews. But getting in to the discussion tonight, Weekly Shonen Jump issues number 21 and 22. This is a pretty big one. We got a full roster, and then we're about to go on break after this. So I'm excited to get into this discussion tonight. For anybody that's fans of the Goodbye Eri one-shot by Tatsuki Fujimoto that came out recently, we will be doing a Goodbye Eri review in lieu of Jump coverage next week, since Weekly Shonen Jump will be on break. So check us out on Twitch. Next week we'll update you with times and dates and whatnot when we get a little bit closer to that time. But the Twitch link will be down in the description as well. But all right, let's get into it, gentlemen. Starting with Ayashimon, chapter 21, Sack.
It was balls. Put in a good one.
This shit was nuts.
Yeah. Oh man, what did it say? Chapter was nuts.
I can't remember who said that in the.
I think it was Adaki.
Yeah, in the manga chat on Twitter.
Look at all these people balling out.
Somebody said it was a balls to the wall chapter.
Hey man, I love all of it. All of the nutsack puns. We got them.
Dude, I've been waiting for a moment like this ever since like the second chapter.
Oh yeah.
And we were just like giant transforming testicles, and you're like, no way, and I'm like, it's a thing.
Wait a minute, you did.
It's a thing.
Yo, you literally talked about Tanuki balls in one episode.
Forever.
We talked about it for like 2 minutes straight. One episode, cracking up. Yeah.
There's like a guy.
I kept cracking up. Yeah.
There's a guy.
Yeah. There was also a guy who like transformed his nutsack into a woman.
Yeah, that's right. When we were first getting the information of Kabukicho. Yeah, when we first went to Kabukicho, and they were talking about how much of like a slum, like terrible place to like live it was and just exist and whatnot, and it showed like prostitution and drug dealing and like weapons trafficking and shit like that. And then it did show that Tanuki come out the side of the brothel, like with his pants down, as it like
the bigger the balls, the more power they got, and like it's everywhere. Like the general manager Tamagawa, Tama means globe.
Oh shit.
Ball, sphere, yeah.
Wow.
Good shit.
Drop of dew. That's
hilarious.
Wow.
Well yeah, this is a wild chapter. But I do want to, before we like really get into the guts of the chapter, I wanted to ask Yato, man, how do you feel about Ayashimon just in general as a series, since it's still pretty new?
Yeah, in general, I'm liking it. I'm not
Right.
one of the people that are like thinking it's gonna get axed or whatever. I personally don't think it'll be axed. I think it's actually gonna go for a while. It's taking its time. Kakuyuji's been in the magazine. Well, he's been in Jump Plus. He knows how things work,
Yeah.
so he's chilling. But so far the story, I like it. I relate to the main character. I feel like every guy who is reading these chapters each week can relate to him. We all
Yeah.
want to be we all want to be a manga hero.
Right.
We all wanted to be Goku,
At
so
one
we can
point,
relate to the guy. Yeah,
yeah.
so
Even if
I
it's
like it.
not, you want to be Goku or you want to be like a manga protagonist, like we've all wanted to be the main character of some fictional story that we've experienced, even
Mhm.
before we found anime and manga. Whether it's comic books or whether it's, superhero TV shows or Harry Potter or whatever,
Right.
you know what I mean? It's like one of the most relatable, main
We
character
all
motivations
picked
in
up
a
a
while.
stick
Yeah.
and thought we were in Star Wars.
Right.
It's
Yeah,
just
for sure.
like,
Yeah, type shit. Yeah. But yeah, keep going, Yato, if you have anything else.
Yeah. I'm feeling it, man. So I'm down. I'm down for as long as Kakuyuji wants to do it. I don't think it's gonna get axed. I mean, I'm not super into sales, but I've been seeing that it's doing. I think it's doing well, and I think it's got reprints. So I don't think it's in any danger. It's just people just Twitter being Twitter and shit like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Everyone's overreacting. But as far as the story and stuff, I think it's interesting so far. I like the whole gang. I know Japan doesn't like the gang stuff, I guess, but like
Yeah, the Yakuza
I'm,
stuff, yeah.
I think it's interesting, and like seeing this kid go from wanting a challenge and beating everybody up in his neighborhood and shit like that, and losing jobs because he can't stop like breaking shit, and beating people up. It's
Yeah.
funny to like see him then get like thrusted into like a world of gangsters,
And
but they're
just
like,
violence, constant
yeah,
violence, yeah.
yeah, just
true
all the time.
monsters.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not just violence. It's like these aren't even humans. So like you can't
Right.
even like he could kind of just run free and do whatever he wants because like these ain't humans.
Right.
They're demon dudes.
Yeah. And
They'll reincarnate.
yeah,
They'll-
exactly.
Yeah,
I was
they'll
gonna
be back
say
anywhere.
it's nothing's like really too permanent, right? Because like his
Yeah.
enemies are just like, manifestations of cash representing, yokai consciousness. So you can just evaporate them and then they'll reform 100 years later or whatever the shit is. So
Right.
you get them out the paint, but it's not like murder.
I'm still waiting on that moment for somebody to get punched and just like their whole head just turns into cash and like somebody makes like they do like the Sonic meme or whatever. Like, damn, all your rings fell out. Yeah,
Yeah, he
like
smacked
when
the
somebody
rings
fall.
out this man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, when he hit the first dude, he's just like, pow.
Yeah, I just want somebody's head to just poof. Funny.
You'd hear like the
I'd
sound
like to get
effect
some
too.
cash anytime I win a fight. That'd be nice.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, there's
Maybe
a
get more
couple.
wrestling
There's a couple
fun.
clubs, underground clubs you could join for that if you.
Yeah.
if you're really into that, but yeah, man, I don't know. I love Ayashimon. You know what I mean? We love Ayashimon over here. It's no secret. I'm gonna support anything that this like triage of mangaka best friends puts out. You know what I mean? Yukinobu Tatsu, Tatsuki Fujimoto, Kakuyuji, the three best friends that anyone could have. Like they can literally drop anything, and I will support it 100%. So
Right.
I'm here for the long haul for sure.
Same.
But yeah, chapter 21 sack. So we're at the Cory Hotel, and this is like actually like really interesting that it isn't the kind of alliance meeting that you think it would be after the Enma Syndicate is built up last chapter as this ever expanding, ever encompassing unit faction that everyone either has to fall in line with or perish to. You know what I mean? So like that's building up this tension and these stakes of holy shit, what are we going to do against this overwhelming enemy? Well, the two factions, the two teams that have not been absorbed by Enma Syndicate better get together and fucking work something out, because otherwise what's going to happen? And then we get to the Cory Hotels, and you think that everyone's on the same page until they say, we're actually just going to stop being gangsters. And we're going to just say, fuck Enma Syndicate. We don't need territory. We don't need power. They're too scary. We can run this business legitimately and stop all the Yakuza stuff. So, like, you guys got to do the same thing, too. And it was just like a complete, shattering of my expectations of how this, diplomacy
I loved that.
inside of these two gangs was going to go. Yeah.
I really enjoyed that aspect in it because it's like it bucks against the traditional like story structure of classic shonen, and then also gives like a really realistic reaction to like that massive shift in the playing field. They're like, yeah, no, when it was four of us, we could expect the others to be bogged down by dealing with each other, and we could play it safe, play it cool, and then if this guy is all about the bottom line, this makes sense. He's made the logically like sound move
Right.
to make the most profit. And I was like, all right, I respect that, I understand that, and it surprised me, which I love.
Yeah, it's not always, you know.
Wrong.
Yeah, exactly. It's not. I was gonna say it's not always, you know, going to come down to expected manga like motivations. Like you want to assume that Corey Hotels, you know, wants to be, you know, Yakuza territory controllers just like everybody else does.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to it, and you see that your enemy is unbeatable. Like, what do? You go out in a blaze of glory for the sake of territory wars? No, it's like, we can run this fucking business still. Like, we are a front business first. You know what I mean? So, like, we could just lean into that. It doesn't have to be go down with the ship, you know, like, you know, let your ambitions carry you to your grave kind of thing all the time. It's
and that's the type of stuff I feel like you normally would see. So like you definitely expect these guys to be like, no, we're also like gonna fight for this territory. We're not gonna give it up. And like to see him just go, we're out of the race, bro. Like we're backing out. Like we all about this money. Like this guy, you know, he comes on the screen and he's like straight businessman. He's like, I don't even have more than 7 minutes to waste on you guys because like I got money to make, bro. Like I brought y'all here. I'm telling y'all something. It's not even like I'm not giving you an option. I'm telling you like y'all are gonna get out and like we're done being gangsters and this is all about money now.
Right.
And that was cool. I didn't expect that because any other story is like this would have been another rival.
Exactly. It brings like an internal realism, you know, to the world building when you have a, you know, logically sound response to this kind of situation that isn't just, you know, sticking to the most exciting expected manga style motivations. You know what I mean? It's like, no, we have other options that we can use to continue living our lives as comfortably as we want. We don't have to oppose Enma Syndicate for the sake of this plot. Like, we can just go back to being businessmen, and that's just so cool.
Yeah, he even says that like with Converse, they've been having like talks with the government and stuff about like how to go get, you know, back to being a clean business, and you know what does it say?
Money
Yakuza
laundering.
exclusion ordinances will protect us. So they got like all kinds of shit like already lined up with the government. I feel like you never like in a gangster story hear somebody be like, yeah, we've already spoke to the government. Like the cops are on our side. Like
we're about to
you
be
don't
out of
get
here.
that type of shit.
We're
We're done.
about to tactically exit safely from the situation.
We're good.
Got
We're
some insider
safe.
trading. We talked to our lawyers. They figured out the bylaws. We are going to be out clean. We're going to still make hand over fist on the exit. And yeah, we also want you to leave. We're facilitating this so that we can make profit. You're going to have to give up anyway. It's only normal that you would listen to us.
Yeah.
The part that really got me is the fact that the Kitsune lady, she talks about how they don't rely on money. They just want it.
Yeah.
They're like, we like money. It's great. Money can get you everything that you want that isn't magic. Like, we enjoy it, but they are like running off their own power.
Yeah, what do they say? She says we manifest into our own flesh. That was like a really interesting point for me, because I'm like, so wait a minute, do you get to choose like how you manifest into the world from your yokai, like your higher spatial dimension or whatever that your consciousness exists in? Like, you get to go, okay, we want to have a 3-dimensional experience. Let's convert ourselves into cash so that even if we are destroyed physically, we can just keep resetting every 100 years and live forever. Or we can manifest into our own flesh and blood for a multitude of different reasons, pride, whatever. Yeah. You know what I mean? But that's cool if that's a thing.
It's because they're like low-level gods, effectively. Like, they're basically divine-powered entities. Because, like, her name, Inari, is the name of a local, like, rice god. And she, like, is a kitsune, is worshipped, and even has multiple different manifestations. And each individual manifestation of herself is worshipped for different aspects of, like, commerce and business and other things. And so I thought that was interesting that they reinforced her naming convention in this chapter from last one. And then I did a little bit of research on the Gyobu Tanuki. He is considered like a low-level god as well. And
That's the general manager, right?
It's the guy whose nutsack is the entire hotel.
Yeah. GM guy at the desk.
Yeah, so he was one of the main... There's like 3 big Tanukis in storytelling, but he's the one that birthed 808 Tanukis.
God damn.
Yeah, wow. That guy was active.
808.
And then he, guarded a castle, Matsumaya Castle. But yeah, there's stuff like that. And it's like, oh, wait, so they aren't technically yokai. It's like... I know there's yokai, and I think there's something else. I believe they're called irukai or something like that. And they are also... It's the whole Shintoism thing. It's in that Shinto spectrum of, like, are they evil spirits, or are they just, like, spiritual creatures that have, like, transcended mortal flesh, or like is it an animal spirit that has transcended itself and gained sentience, etc.? Like, it's one of those kinds of things.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It adds more wrinkles.
Yeah.
To the whole.
Yo, no.
I was about to say wrinkles to the nuts.
I was like, yeah, wrinkles. Wait.
Where are we going?
Yeah. Oh man,
going
that's
down.
I like the situation though, because it's like, okay, we brought you here. We want to have a conversation. We're letting you know that we're getting out the game. You know what I mean? We are exiting the paint. You know what I mean? And it's not just so much that we're going to quit, but you guys are wild card outliers in this whole thing anyway. So like, it'll be easier for us to make this tactical exit if you guys also, are on the same page with us and also want to not cause more ruckus inside of these areas. So you guys have to stop too. And they're like no. And they're like, well, then you have to like leave the area. And it's like, no, we have our own reasons why we have to beat the Enma Syndicate. And it's like, all right, well, that's going to make like what we're trying to do a lot more difficult. So plan B is trap you inside the Tanuki nutsack while our exorcists load up this like 6-hour sealing spell. And like, that was just like so cool to me, because it's like, it makes sense. You know what I mean? It's not just a, we are now opposing you for the sake of, establishing conflict in this exchange. You know what I mean? Like, it actually makes sense why they're doing everything. And it's very like thoughtful. It's very, well thought out and planned in that way, because like, there's nothing worse than, feeling like you're kind of getting taken out of the moment immersion wise for the sake of some narrative device that's injected for the sake of, conflict and tension. You know what I mean? Right. Like, this is all just like pieces like falling into place as far as natural and organic progression to whatever is going on right now. Like, it makes all the sense in the world that these guys would want the easiest exit possible from this situation. And when you have these loud, rambunctious Todoroki guys that want to spin up hell in Kabukicho and any other area that the Enma Syndicate is kind of influencing, it's like, that's going to make life hard for everyone, especially Cory Hotels, who wants to leave as cleanly as possible. So it makes sense that they'd be like, nah, if you're not going to listen, then we'll seal you for a century or two. And
we expected this also from our job's anticipating our clientele's need, and that means being able to read people. We got a good beat on you. We don't want you to drop down the property value by waging a gang war. Like, we won't have we'll still be operating our businesses within these territories, but we won't have the mainstay forces and like gang strength to enforce that peace. Right. So if you go run around, you're directly influencing our main income, and it's our sole source of income now. Right. So we can't do that stuff that we used to do anymore. We can't let that slide.
Yeah. Because it's like, it could have just been like, oh, you disagree with us? Well, we're pissed now. And we're now your beef is with us, and we're trapping you in here and sealing you just because you don't agree and you're not listening to us or whatever. I like
that their plan B wasn't like, okay, you disagree, okay, we're gonna have to kill you or fight you. It was just like, okay, we kind of knew you guys were going to be against it, so we'll just seal you up for a couple thousand years or whatever.
Yeah.
And like the plan, it makes sense. Get out of our town, because otherwise, people are going to be, people now before they go book a hotel out of state or whatever. They're looking at reviews, and you look at a review and like, no, there's gang wars happening around this area. Don't stay here.
Right.
That's immediately affecting their money. Nobody's going to want to stay there if like they're reading reviews on fucking like Airbnb and shit.
Yeah, and those reviews can come up, right? Because like whatever happens in the underground, word travels quickly. You never know like how that information will rise to the surface and become something that everyone is talking about in relation to your reputation for your hotel situation. So yeah, loud, angry biker guys are not going to be quiet enough about this. So like, let's just remove you so that we can make this as clean of an exit as possible. 100 years from now, when we're all set up, in our perfectly clean way of living and everything is kind of, blown over and the dust settles, then you can come back. We don't want to kill you, but like you're going to make this a little bit too difficult.
We need you to cool off.
Yeah, so
our customers are worried about like the cars getting smashed in or being up late at night because you're revving your motorcycles and shit, making noise, like all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, it's just cool to see like such a, brooding and calculated, like I don't want to say non-confrontational, but like just like there's like no anger, or aggression like associated with this.
It's literally not personal.
Yeah, it's all business. It's all business and logic. Care. Yeah,
I'll be polite to you. I loved the dialogue of Inari and Tamagawa and like how they talked about it, because like my dad was a tour guide back in the day, and so like having her talk to like about like, oh yeah, this hotel was founded da 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 da, and like these things. I've done that spiel at different restaurants. Like, oh yeah, this place was actually the baby of the owner. This is one of his soul restaurants. His grandparents met Harry S. Truman, and that's why this pizza place is called Truman's. And they love Kansas City. Always have Go Chiefs, yada yada yada. You can see the little picture on the little shadow box right over there on that pillar. And here's like this and that. And I was like, I used to give the spiel all the time, or like talk about like the history of like, oh yeah, this used to be the first Chinese restaurant in Des Moines, and now it's a pizza place that is Chinese themed. Welcome to Fong's. No, I'm not Fong. No,
I'm not Fong.
Dude, I actually lied sometimes when they were like, are you Fong? And I was like, yes. It's so satisfying to be part of a family restaurant. I was like, give me your money. I was going full Taniki mode. I was like, yeah, I got chutzpah. I got big brass balls. Give me your money.
Holy shit. Yeah, that's crazy.
But they do stuff like that. And I service industry, hotel business, it's very similar. Like, it's just like, we want you to have a good time so that you spend lots of money. Let's go.
I think it's cool that Maruo is like outside of the situation. Obviously, he's still doing his like, energy system training or whatever with the chestnuts and whatnot. It seems like he is at a point now where we're back to when that guy was like, yo, your Suxrima Sarira is in tip-top shape now. You can go ahead and just do whatever you want. You've effectively like completed the basic training, and now the rest of your development is dependent on what you do moving forward with this foundation that's been laid. So like that's really cool that it's not like an extensive, going through all of the areas of the power system one by one to train specific things over and over again or in a row or whatever. It's just like, here's the basic foundation, everything else is up to you now. So that's cool. But as far as like how they're going to rescue them from the Tanuki sack, right? Because Katone's in here and he hasn't like transformed or anything and started using any like real abilities or power to try to get out of the sack. He's basically just kicking the wall of it, and it's like, hey man,
through a couch.
Yeah, he like through a couch.
It's like
classic
rock star treatment.
Yeah, and the dude's like, dude, you're wasting your time. Like, we have whole ovens inside of this hotel. Like, we have like all types of shit that would irritate the sack of this hotel that doesn't. So like, you throwing random punches is not going to be enough to break you out of here. You guys might as well just chill until the exorcism is done. But see, like, Maruo's training is for this inner energy that is extended beyond just his physical strength, because we know that he can't just punch his way through things like Dopo or Katone. He needed like this extra energy system to be introduced so that he could attack past this whatever,
physical
yeah,
obstruction.
this physical obstruction, so they can get to the soul or whatever of the enemy. I'm assuming is how it's kind of going to work. So like, yes, Maruo has a lot of explosive power physically, but before this training, I can see him going up to this giant Tanuki sack building and just punching it with all of its might, and it literally doing nothing. Now that he has, you know, this energy system a little bit more under control, I can see it working in the same vein as like Ryo in One Piece. You know what I mean? Attacking past the physical defenses of the enemy to do internal damage, so that you can hurt characters like Kaido, or get past, you know, other kinds of like really big, scaly, hard defenses and whatnot to attack internally. You know what I mean? So like, if that's the case, that's really cool, because then it's starting to kind of like fit all of the energies together. Because when yokai fight each other, they have shit like Yojutsu, and that's, you know, a whatever kind of energy, but it's an energy that
like
can
magic.
interact with, you know, the physical forms in ways that you can assume, you know, can just destroy them easier than Maruo just punching them a lot of the time. You know what I mean? Like, if you run into a dopo who can't be punched, like some other yokai probably has a Yojutsu that can just do damage to dopo directly without there being that like physical barrier there. You know what I mean? So if that's how it kind of like works among yokai, then Maruo having this new energy that could potentially allow him to attack past physical barriers and attack internally will even that playing field. So I could totally see him just pulling up to this wall with his new shit and just giving it a fucking haymaker with this new energy behind it, and then the sack shrivels up and
the Tanuki dude, he like wakes up. He looks like he's like sleepy, like, oh my nuts, what's going on?
He's just like face down on the desk, like he's just like got the little like he sucked a lemon. He's just like, oh
yeah, type shit.
And it's just like, I'm gonna watch him beat those balls black and blue, like just fucking bruise them, like
that's kind of how I'm thinking,
kind of shit.
Yeah, that's how I'm kind of seeing it, as far as the explanation as to like, because Maruo's definitely pulling up to go like save his people, obviously. So like, maybe it could either be a thing where it's like damage is easier to deal from the outside than the inside. You never know what kind of explanations they'll actually give the, you know, constitution of the sack. You know what I mean? So like, you never really know on that front, but I'm pretty confident that it'll come down to this energy that he's been training, and it'll behave, you know, like a Ashigara Dokoi from Sentomaru in Shibambi, or, you know, just Ryo against Kaido and Wano or something like that.
Well, like, there might just be a way like in, because Inari got out. You know, she was in the room with these guys when the hotel turned into a nutsack, and like, you know, 3 pages later, she's at the gang, like the Todoroki Alliance, like gang. So she had to get out somehow. Like, how'd she get out of the room?
Is she actually there?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Or is it like part of her Kitsune Yojutsu, and she sent a clone in to like talk them into following her and just talking stuff, like, you know, because they had shadow clones or something, right? Like, if you can shapeshift, you could probably do a shadow clone or something, especially with like all the leaf magic that you know, Tanuki and Kitsune are known for. True. So I feel like the one that's in there is like a body double or something like that.
Yeah, it could be something like that. Either that, or, you know, there's some kind of like understood by the staff kind of like way to like exit and enter the Tanuki sack if it's ever, you know, implemented. You know what I mean? Or I was also thinking like, maybe this chick is just like a twin. Like, maybe there's just more than one of this chick.
Or
maybe.
Or it's a bunch of Kitsune that have trained themselves to look like this one individual, and that's their whole shtick. Or like, I don't know, I was thinking it because you were talking like, oh, you know, they have this understanding, they can pass through the walls, and I was like, that's really cool. And I just imagined this idea of like a work contract, like a work application contract that has magical stuff built into it, to like enforce, like, you can only use this magic during work hours or something.
Oh, sure. It could also work like barriers in Jujutsu Kaisen, how you can like set conditions to your barrier, like this kind of person can come in, but this kind of person can't come in. You know what I mean? So it could
you're
be
an employee,
like,
so you can walk out.
Yeah, there could be rules and whatnot associated to it like that. Like, I wouldn't put it past Kakuyuji. We know he can write a deep, nuanced, you know, hard power system. You know what I mean? So like, you never know like when that kind of exposition will come in. You know, we're still really early in the game here, and we haven't gotten like hard breakdowns of like Yojutsu specifically, I don't want to say, at least in any kind of vein that is akin to things like Jujutsu Kaisen or Hunter x Hunter, or even Tao from Jigo Karaku. You know what I mean?
Right,
Not
yeah.
entirely. We just now are starting to dip our pinky toe in there with the Tsukushima stuff. You know what I mean? So you never know exactly how Kaku Yuji will handle it, but I could totally see it being like a front-loaded condition or something to the Tanuki sack. I could see that.
Yeah, when I was...
But like... Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, when I was thinking, that this is the same woman, I'm thinking, they go capture her. The Todoroki Alliance grabs this woman, they wrap her up or whatever, and they take her to the like nutsack. They get there and they're like, "All right, lady, you gonna tell us how to get the hell in here?" And they like force her to open the door if there's like a door or something.
I like that a lot, because they do have
just
this
the
one.
hair turns into a door handle.
Yeah. They got her hemmed up, you know what I mean? So it sounds like they would use, that kind of leverage, to kind of get in. But I mean, at the end of the day, this is a Kitsune. They probably have a contingency for if they get caught in the lie, you know what I mean? And like, who's going to be easier, like who is going to be more effective at sneaking away unexpected than a fucking Kitsune, you know what I mean? So if she wanted to escape, she probably could. But yeah.
There's still like customers in the hotel too. So like I wonder, what do the customers see? Because like if the customers are seeing like a nutsack too, that'd be weird. They wouldn't be staying there no more. But
I think a combination of like illusion magic.
Yeah, so
sure.
So why I was saying that was because like if they do bring this chick and they're outside and they're like, "Let us the fuck in," that's gonna cause a commotion, and the customers are gonna be like, "What's going on outside?" Like, why these guys got like your employee outside tied up? It's gonna cause a commotion. They're gonna have to open the doors and like address it if it's like a door situation.
Yeah.
It can. There's a lot going on here because we don't know, because we know that Moruo is physically strong enough to rip apart buildings, like slowly, but like he can still do it. And then now that his like chakras are aligned and he can like punch the essence of a thing, he can probably take time. And then I feel like Gyobu Denoki being such like a high level divine entity, it's not going to be right away. It's like, since it's a matter of scale, it might take, like, I'm going to have to punch through 10 floors and fight people the entire way, that kind of thing. But I think it's a good example, like it's a good substitute for like Dopo, and the fact that like I need to test out these powers, I need to like break this power in and see what I'm capable of now, and I think this is a good replacement for like the Enma Syndicate.
Yeah, it gives him something to hit, because like Dopo, you're not, the guy, he's more slippery than a nutsack would be. So like Baro could just go and punch the nutsack and show off his like new powers and shit over and over.
Yes. Yeah, I love that.
Oh man, it makes me wonder, like, if this totally backfires, can they put Cory Hotels over a barrel and say, yeah, you tried to do that, it didn't work, we will actively trash every single hotel you own for doing this unless you work for us.
Yeah, I like that.
There's that moment, it's like, you fucked with us and you could get it. Either you call on the Enma Syndicate to protect you, or you work with us and stay neutral. And if you ever pull that shit again, we will burn everything to the ground.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Like, what's the plan going forward past confrontation? I want to see what the state of play is for that.
Yeah, same, man. All in all, I'm like really happy with this chapter. Just reiterating, like, some of my praise from earlier in the review. I like how it explores, realistic options inside of how these factions, would react to a situation like this, outside of just, we have to oppose you for the sake of the plot. Like, no, there are other options. It makes the world feel that much more real when you explore other reactions to things besides just hype driving plot progression.
It's much less tiring because it allows me to be surprised. I feel like it's the manga doing doing the work.
I say manga too, don't worry.
Intellectually for me, as opposed to like me seeing a thing and it's kind of plain or standard, and I'm like, okay, I'm the one adding flavor to this because I'm building it, backing it with my assumptions.
Yeah, how can I make this feel better?
This one has all this stuff for me, and I'm making multiple assumptions of what it means.
Yes. Very well said.
I really don't have too much to say. I just wanted to touch on a couple naming things, and that's
Yeah.
really about it.
Yeah,
What about
yeah.
you guys?
Yeah, same. I just talk about some of the comedy, like how fucking they're like, what about this fucking are the showers, his nuts, and he's just
Hey,
like,
is this
yeah,
cheese?
and he's like, the dude's he's like, I'm tired. I told you I don't do repetition. Everything is his sack, bro.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
Everything.
love that moment.
yeah.
That moment was, and it's like he's so like it's the comedy moment where like the straight man is so serious that it's hilarious.
Yes.
And it's just like, God, this is like so well done. It's
Hell
just
yeah.
like you played this so seriously, and your master plan was a giant nutsack.
Yeah,
like,
it ended up being comedy. Yeah.
That's a ridiculous thing to be so serious about. Like,
Just-
I've brought you here to talk to you in his nuts.
Yeah,
you
that's good
can't
shit.
go busting his balls.
Yeah. The
No.
last thing that I had really was the situation when, the other Tanuki comes in disguised as Katone and tries to talk to him because Maruo's like, huh? Nah, and then kicks him instantly. And like, what at first I was like, oh, okay, that's that Suksruma training. He can like see, the true essence of whoever he's talking to or something. He can see past disguises and illusions because he's more in tune with this energy. And it's like, no, that's not the case. I actually had no idea. Urara just told me through our telepathic tattoo link. And I'm just like, oh, okay. So it's not just, you're not a Swiss Army knife now that you have completed this like foundational energy system training. You know what I mean? Like you still need help. It's not just like you finish the training and now you can go do anything for X amount of time until you run into a new obstacle that considers your training. You know what I mean? Like there's still, it's baby steps still. You know what I mean? And I like that progression. So, yeah.
The last thing I wanted to touch on was I liked the hotel employee's hair and the fact that her hair looks like foxtails, like color inverted foxtails.
Yes, with
And
that
then,
gradient, the color
yeah,
gradient
I was
towards
like,
the tip.
oh my!
Yeah,
I was like, I can't believe I didn't notice it last chapter. But then I was like thinking about her being Kitsune and all this stuff, and I was like, oh my God,
yeah.
staring me in the face.
I didn't notice that
Love
either.
Those
That's
small touches.
Yeah, that slaps. Yeah.
And then Cory Hotels, the name Cory, usually if it's taken as a girl's name, it means beautiful, lovely, guarantee, and then it also, depending if it's like a noun, it means foxes or badgers.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
That is all.
I like that research that you be doing on naming conventions and aesthetics and shit like that. I feel like it's
cool
like
stuff.
really important for what we're doing.
It really is because
Yeah.
like the reason I started looking into stuff like that was when I was when I was a kid, I got Shonen Jump mailed to my doorstep, and I remember this interview or like trivia thing, and they're like, did you know that Kakashi means scarecrow, and that is why he has barely any skin showing, and he's rail thin, and his hair's stuck up like a broom?
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, that's genius!
Yeah, that's so cool.
I'm a child. This is amazing.
Yeah. Love this chapter though. Beautiful pacing. All of the plot developments, are organic and believable responses to everything that happens one after another. You know what I mean? The dialogue is very realistic. Everything just kind of flowed beautifully till the end. So loved this Ayashimon chapter, but
yeah, agreed.
I think that'll do it. Good job, gentlemen. Ayashimon 21. Done.
Yes, sir.
All right, getting into Sakamoto Days, chapter 68. Follow me. How do we feel?
This was goofy. I liked it.
Yeah.
I actually didn't notice that was the title of the a chapter.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. Yeah, I normally skip the chapter names, and that shit killed me.
Oh, do you?
Just now. Yeah, that got me.
Sometimes it slaps a little bit harder to get the title of the chapter, like to not notice the title of the chapter, read the whole thing, and then see the title of the chapter. Sometimes that's sometimes
the chapter kind of reveals it. Like somebody shared earlier, a fucking a Naruto page, and the chapter title was like Sasuke dies, and it was like chapter 300. Clearly he does it, but the chapter titles be funny sometimes.
What are we doing with that? With a title like that? That's insane.
Yeah,
man.
Question mark.
Yeah, this is a cool chapter though. I love how we're getting more and more of like Gaku's like personality as he's piloting this like, VR body. You know what I mean? I think it's always cool when you have like a super threatening, like imposing, overwhelming force in the antagonistic situation, and then you give them like really quirky personality traits that like kind of resemble, almost protagonist character traits. You know what I mean? It makes it a little bit, it blurs the lines that much more. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, Gaku's kind of becoming like one of my favorite characters in the series.
Straight
Really,
up.
like when he fought with I think it was Takamura, the old guy.
Takamura, yeah.
That Takamura, yeah. When he fought him, that was cold as shit. Like kicking his arm and shit. That was dope as fuck. But like he's just been cool every time he's been on the screen, and like this is just more of him being cool. Like him hitting the motherfucker with another motherfucker. Like he's just doing a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah.
And then we find out that this dude's like not even awake.
Yeah. So we're getting a little bit more info, but they're slowly like drip feeding the exposition behind this VR technology over the course of multiple chapters, and I like that breadcrumb progression because I don't know, you definitely don't just want to shovel all of the information at once. You definitely can do that, but I feel like a lot more of the time it's better to kind of do it in like a drip feedy kind of little by little kind of way, because it allows for more, prediction and assumption and discussion in general over the subject. So I'm here for it.
I feel like it's really important because being a storyteller, right? Like you the storyteller know exactly what's going on. You have the knowledge of like this is what it really is, but you have to treat it as like a mystery story and think about what are your viewers witnessing, what are they experiencing, what might they believe about it, and what inherent assumptions could they draw from what you've already give them. And like that is like spooling that out, having that like mentality, and not like giving it away right away. Like it's like you don't want to blow your load too soon. You don't want to like feed them the answer before they're ready.
Right.
Like you want to set out the appetizers, you want to set out the drinks, you want to make sure that they're good, and then you get to like the main course.
Right.
You get them to you get the soups, the entree, all that stuff, and then you wait for that final pull, and you're like, and the dessert.
Yes.
Bam. You're welcome. Like it's about the experience, and I feel like in Sakamoto Days, they are very cognizant of that.
Yeah, I feel like one of the hardest things to do as a storyteller too is like when you have a really cool idea, having the discipline to not spoon feed it down your audience's throat right away just because you're excited about the concept or the conversation or the fight or whatever it is that you're delivering to them. Having the discipline to like hold that information back, but giving just enough information to spark interest in the continuation of the fleshing out of that concept, I feel like is something that a lot of the contemporary writers in Weekly Shonen Jump are doing very well in the current landscape.
Yeah, I feel like if it were me, like when I'd have like this stuff in my mind, it'd be impossible to like, I'd be trying to push out like 3 chapters a week. Like I can't like keep it in my head. I want to tell somebody. Like I'm telling my mom and stuff. I'm like, I don't know how these guys are able to do it and deliver on these cliffhangers every week. Like writing these stories and having like an interested like cliffhanger every week is like crazy. I just can't believe they're even able to do that.
Look at Oda, you know what I'm saying? Introducing like a concept at one point in the story and then not providing the payoff for it for hundreds of chapters while giving you little drip feed breadcrumbs leading into it. Yeah, we still haven't seen Vegapunk. Vegapunk was first talked about in like Alabasta. You know what I mean? Right. So it's like the discipline, that
still haven't seen them.
Yeah, like that's just got to be insane for, a storyteller especially like Oda to hold on to these things for that long. Yeah.
That's a perfect example because I feel like Togashi is doing that. Like I always imagine Togashi like at a dinner table and like he's in his head he's like, bro, I cannot wait to hit him with this stuff. Yeah, that's like been in my head, but like he's got like health issues, so it's crazy.
Well, Togashi's just another one that's like really good at that kind of thing too, because like you have the Phantom Troop situation. You know what I mean, where you introduce your antagonistic force and don't spoon feed all of the fleshing out of those characters throughout the arc that they're introduced in. We got to know like a couple of the Phantom Troop members. We got to see a couple more of them fight a little bit. But by the end of that arc, not only were they not all defeated, but like only a couple of them died, and we didn't learn everything about the rest of them. You know what I mean? We still don't know what Nobunaga's Hatsu is. You know what I mean? Like shit like that. You know, like you give just enough to, like, I feel like you, as a writer, when you have that many good ideas, you can pick and choose like what to give and when, while holding back so much more gold. You know what I mean? And that's just the kind of writer that Togashi is. He just has that many good ideas that he can afford to do things like that. So
like Gaku's language makes me think of like video games where he's like, "Oh, new challenger approaches, Smash Bros." It'd be like, you know, it'd be like in a video game where they're just like, "Oh yeah, mana is the source of all life, and you know, capitalism is killing the planet. We need to do that." Like, no, they led up to that moment in Final Fantasy VII.
Right.
Like, you need to lead up to it. You need to, like, instead of just like, this is the thing, this is the problem, it exists. You need to like highlight it. You need to show it. You need to show the effects of a thing. You need to see the destitution. You need to see the withered forests. You need to see, you know, the mutated wildlife before you find out that, you know, maybe a dragon's being repurposed into a chemical refining factory, and it is a husk of itself, and it is just drooling waste into the rivers and stuff.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, that's cool, but like you can't find that out right away. You need to go through like 10 locked doors. I was reading something or like listening to an interview, but they were talking about like, you know, bad guys, major like characters. The more people you have to go through to even see them, the more important they are.
Nice.
And like how integral to their story. Like it's like you can't go like, that's like the Kori hotels. You can't walk into Kori hotels and I'm like, I'm gonna fight Gyobo Danuki. You know, you have to go through 10 floors. You have to fight the reception clerk, then the chef, and then you have to fight the cleaning ladies, and then you have to fight, you know, the assistant managers, and then the security team before you do all that stuff. And then you have a fake Gyobo Danuki, and then you fight his assistants. And
wow.
You know, you have to do those before you get to the final boss. Like,
straight up.
Like, think about what you know, the rebels had to do to even face Vader.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, you can't have I'm just a guy and vroom, vroom, zzz. All right, you're dead.
You're in the boss room now. This was a pretty easy dungeon, y'all.
Walk in and out.
Hell yeah.
It'd be like walking into the cantina and he's just there slamming a beer and he's like, all right, let's go, kid. It doesn't work.
All right. But yeah, getting back into Sakamoto. This chapter was fucking amazing. The choreography is obviously A+ to S tier as usual. I think that it's so cool how they come out of this like pincer attack just to like follow up with, you know, Shin and what's
looked all these
COVID
dudes'
mask
names
dude's name? Yeah, Mafuyu. There we go.
Koromaru, Kaji, and Shin.
There we go. Kaji and Mafuyu come up, you know, with the continuation of the attack, and he ducks their shit and grabs them by the face, and then throws them in opposite corners. I was like, yo.
I had to look at it like twice. I was like, are they in opposite directions? But they are. Like, he fucking tosses them.
Yeah.
It looks stupid.
Effortlessly. And then before Shin can even like recover, there's already another foot in his face, and it's like, wow. And he's like, why can't I read his thoughts? Yeah, Gaku is a monster.
Fights dirty, yo.
Yeah, like, even in this body, even in this other body, it's like, yo, like this is like insane pressure right now.
He doesn't give these guys like a chance to get up. Like most people are like, yeah, come on, bro, get on up, come on. And he's like, no, you're on the ground. I'm kicking you across the fucking room.
Yeah,
like you're gone.
I mean, that really showcases Gaku's mentality when it comes to combat and assassination.
Yeah,
he's like, no, I'm gonna overwhelm you with force. I'm gonna throw you. I'm gonna get you off balance, and then I'm gonna keep pounding you into the ground until you're dead.
Yes, and not only is that just his fighting style in general, whenever he needs to take somebody out, but this is also like a proving ground for him to find people to recruit into his own faction. So it's kind of like a Darwinistic survival of the fittest kind of thing. If you can't survive me controlling this extra body, I'm not even here right now. I'm literally like sending my thoughts to this body and having it move for me, and there's already been established that there's lag involved too, so this isn't even like, you know, peak reflexes Gaku right now. So it's like, if you guys can't survive this, then you don't need to be on my team, you know what I mean? So like, that's just a really cool reason for the choreography to be this ruthless.
Yeah, because like, imagine if there was no lag, then he'd just be he'd probably be tossing them like a lot more, way more.
Yeah, no, I mean, he'd be like, if it was Gaku's like real strength, when he grabbed by his faces, he probably would have like ripped, like cracked bone and literally ripped their faces off, and they would have been just dead, leaking blood and brains instead of getting thrown. But like, they found this day labor, and I thought it was interesting that they talked about like, there aren't too many guys out there with the flexibility to pull off your moves. They just found this really limber narcoleptic, geared him up with like some cybertronics so that they could like control his muscles and movement. And like, it's just this random dude's power of strength with Gaku's technique. And that to me is crazy.
It is. And I was thinking of like, you know, chapters later after this conflict is over, and they just like look at this body afterwards, and I think it would be so crazy if like the hands and feet were just shattered, broken, bloody, you know, swollen, just like, you know, appendages, because his body couldn't handle the technique of Gaku while he was controlling it. I think that would add like another dark layer to the entire situation of like taking over another person's body. It's like, not only are you stealing the autonomy of this person for the sake of your own agenda, but you're also ruining this person's body because they can't handle your level of combat. You know what I mean?
That
like,
would be fucking fire.
Yeah, for real.
Dude's just bleeding and shit. Fingers just swollen.
Because he's got these big boots, these big pants, these big gloves going all the way up to his biceps and shit. We can't see the actual body parts that he's using at all beyond this, beyond his garb. You know what I mean? So that'd be really cool to finish this and then have them just start. I don't know if there's like a reason why they would like take all of his clothes off or whatever, but like maybe someone makes a comment about how the body is broken or something, like after the VR ends and shit. Like, you don't have to show him butt naked and bruised, but like someone can examine the body and go, no, this man is fucked up.
Then like, I wonder if he even knows where he is, because like, he's been asleep since he got here, and like they like him, they like grabbed him last chapter, and they're like talking to him. They're like, yo, you got, like, they know who he is, but he's been eliminated because Gaku ripped the tail off. So he's not even like allowed to be in the fight anymore. They're like, you're eliminated, bro, you gotta go. And then he's just, Gaku tosses these dudes with his body, and he's asleep. So he probably doesn't even know where he is. They probably, you know, told him, we got a job for you, but, you know, take a nap. We need these super crazy sleeping pills.
Just hit him with the Vegeta chop to the neck, Trunks before he blew himself up.
Slap this shit on him, sent him off.
It makes you wonder, like, is he a day laborer who's just like so exhausted doing jobs? He's like, we just want you to sleep. We're gonna modify your body, and we're gonna test out some VR stuff. So like, be unconscious for it. It's like, bet. Falls asleep right then and there, because like, I've met dudes who like used to serve and stuff, and they've been able to like fall asleep standing up, just like any amount of sleep where they can get it, they'll take it. Or he's been drugged, where like Gaku's like, why is he still asleep? And the, you know, reindeer band is like, yeah, no, I mean, I drugged him for this. Like, if he's awake, his electrical signals from consciousness will interrupt your VR situation. Like, I made this man a cyborg for VR convenience. Like, and it's like Kaji can hear the precision machine, so I want to see the extent of the modifications.
Yeah, me too.
I was thinking maybe he's like hearing it like in the gloves and stuff. Like when, well, I mean, that would make sense. Because of course, if the gloves are like mechanical, then of course he would hear that. But like, I'm thinking, you know, I was thinking maybe he's got some shit going on in his chest or something. Before they like talk about his sleep, I was like, is this dude like full robot? Like,
yeah, we were talking about that last week too. Like, is this literally just like a robotic, like cyborg husk or something, or like
is he Grievous? Like, how far of this?
Yeah, that's what. But then they're like, he's sleep and snoring or something, and I think Gaku said something about like he'd be asleep. So it's like, I guess
someone could hear his heart rate. Like someone could like
Kaji
was like, nah, this dude's heart is not beating, you know, appropriately for the movements that he's making, which is like even crazier because it's like the body is still moving. So the heart should still be working to provide enough blood and oxygen to the body because it's making movements like these, whether he's awake or not.
Yeah.
Like the heart wouldn't just be still like this because he's technically asleep or whatever. Like the body still is moving. Like physics is
he's still tossing dudes
a
across the
thing.
room. Like that's still force that he's.
So that's even more interesting of a thing, because I know that fucking Yuto Suzuki, you know, is aware of things like this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, I wonder why the heartbeat is not appropriately, you know, to scale with the movements. You know what I mean? Like, that's just.
I wonder if they're gonna go more into that, because like by the end of the chapter, you notice the guy, he actually like flips his fucking like Eskimo hat ears up to like reveal his ears too. What's his name? Kaji.
Kaji, he's about to get active for real.
Yeah, so I'm guessing it's like some like close his eyes and he can hear like their breathing type shit or something. Something crazy.
Yeah, maybe he's like, maybe
he's
that's
got
like his own personal like
insanely good
limiter or like dampener for how you know, acute his sense of hearing is.
Oh yeah, maybe the earmuffs are like Gojo's blindfold.
Type shit.
I think so because I have friends that go to bars and they wear headphones to like play music and stuff so that they don't get like auditory senses overloaded. And so I feel like with Kaji, with the Fargo hat in place, is able to hear this dude's heartbeat and hear the sound of precision machines within like the arms and boots and stuff. If he can hear that, I mean, traffic must be like excruciating.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, like it's my stepdad was able to sometimes he would mention being able to hear like the motor of like the inflatable ornaments of the neighbors next door. And I was like, how?
Wow.
Like he's like, yeah, no, if the window's open, I can hear it. And I'm just like,
okay.
And I knew a person that could hear is like, oh, I can tell when I walk into a building with fluorescent lights, and I could hear the whine of like fluorescent lights burning. And I was like,
Daredevil. Okay, Matt Murdock. What the fuck?
Those are just like regular people. So it's like Kaji's a level of hearing is like Daredevil, almost Daredevil levels, but he has sight.
Yeah. Broken then, super broken.
So like Kaji's thinking all this stuff. Like Shin can like hear the thoughts. So like this Shin's already gathered like that this dude's asleep and that there's some mechanical shit going on. Because like Shin doesn't say anything until the end. Like, yo, I'm clairvoyant. But like this guy's been we've been reading his thoughts as a viewer like the entire time. But like Shin never comments on it or anything. And he's been dropping like a lot of information.
Shin might have just started reading his mind, right? Because like when the fight started, I think Shin instantly tried to like activate in some kind of way, either physically or with his powers. I can't remember exactly what, but he made a comment like, I went a little bit too far before this. You know what I mean?
Because he was listening to the fish.
Yeah. He heard the fish when he was fighting Torimaru. And then, like, he was just using his ability probably the whole time he was fighting Torimaru just to keep up. Yeah. And then that fight, you know, that fight took a certain toll on him. And then all of a sudden, this Gaku robot is this wildly oppressive force on this Terminator. You know, and he's like, oh shit, I think I used too much of my ability before this fight, and now I don't have it for this fight. Is kind of how like I interpreted that. So maybe he just got his clairvoyance back towards the end of the chapter and was like, yo, I heard that last thing you said. I'm down to team up. Yeah, let's do this.
I feel better about that because like the whole time I was like, why isn't he saying anything?
Yeah.
I think he's had like, to kind of contrast your guys' opinions. I think he's had it for a while because he had that moment. It's like, why can't I hear this dude's thoughts?
Yeah, so he did try earlier. Yeah.
But then also at the same time, he's like, oh, I can't read this guy's thoughts. I need to focus as hard as I can to just stay ahead of this fast as fuck, strong as hell motherfucker.
Yeah.
And like, he's just trying to stay on top, and then Kaji is just thinking so loudly, he happens to overhear him.
Oh, sure. So maybe Shin was trying to focus all of his attention into reading the Gaku robot's mind.
Actual movements and shit after he realized he couldn't read his mind.
Right. So he's like, why can't I read this dude's thoughts? So then maybe he stops trying and just focuses all of his attention into literally just surviving the onslaught. And then after they all get duffed and Kaji tries to save all of them, And then Mafuyu and Torimaru are like, nah, we ain't running, bro. We got to like handle this like right here, right now. And then he starts admiring their tenacity and all of these things in these very assumingly loud thoughts, like Mello kind of put it. And then once Shin kind of like lets the dust settle and kind of like has a moment to think, he's like, all right, let me start trying to read minds again. Oh, I can hear these Kaji dudes' thoughts. Okay, I heard you, dude. Let's team up and like do this. You know, I like that progression a lot.
I think it's a little bit like passive hearing. His telepathy
like
is a little bit like and he just happens to hear it, but he's been so focused on like staying ahead and staying alive that he's like been drowning out everything else in the laser focus of his attention. But now he's like, oh yeah, Mafuyu's got him for a second. Also, this guy's been acting weird, and now we have time to breathe. I can hear it. I hear you, Kaji. And then he's like, oh wait. Because for him, I feel like it's like hearing a conversation.
Right.
Yeah, he's just tuning it out.
Yeah, and he's just had practice tuning it out when he needs to really, really double down and focus.
I'm thinking he probably like once shit started getting real, he was like, let me just listen and see what if everyone else is starting to think like we should probably run or something, or like who's still thinking about sticking around and fighting.
Type
and
shit.
he hears this guy.
Yep, and then
is anyone going to mention if they have any broken bones inside their head? Like, I was like. It's like, what? How's everyone feeling about themselves? Like,
type shit.
Yeah, no,
I don't know. I think the combo for the next chapter, inside of Kaji and Shin, since Shin has realized that he can't read this dude's thoughts, which is cool to get confirmation, because we were talking like when the situation was first introduced a couple weeks ago, we were like, okay, Shin's gonna try to read this dude's mind. It's not gonna go anywhere because the real mind controlling it is elsewhere. Is he going to be able to read the mind of Gaku because he's vicariously driving this robot? We had a lot of ideas on how it would go, but it looks like no. Like, this is the mind that's in closest proximity to me. I'm trying to read it. There's no thoughts there. There's nothing we can do. I think that it'll be, well, Kaji's sense of hearing is so acute that he can hear the fucking headset wind up in a certain way before movements are made. Like, maybe the technology gives off some kind of tell in its machinery before the body moves that Kaji will be able to hear as it happens, and then Shin will read Kaji's mind to get the tell, and then they can react before the body can move and take advantage of that lag that has already been established a couple chapters ago.
I think it'll be like Kaji will understand, like, oh hey, his left arm is like gearing up, like it's the gears inside it are whirring, and there's something gearing up for like a big impact. So he's like, oh, I need to watch his left, I need to watch his right, and Kaji's gonna understand that and think it, and then Shin is gonna read that at the speed that Kaji thinks. Trying to act on it. I think it's an upgraded version of what Shin and Sakamoto did at the amusement park when he fought that dude wearing a bunny mascot outfit.
Oh, yeah.
He was completely blind.
So,
I remember.
Blind, and now he's able to see, but also fight someone that is still a little too fast, but gaining this information. It's like the upgraded version of that fight, I feel.
I like the combo because it's like Kaji clearly has an advantage in this situation because of his sense of hearing. We already know that there is a lag in between Gaku's mind telling the body to move through the VR system. So that is definitely enough time in a series with combat as fast as Sakamoto. That's definitely enough time for Shin and Kaji to exploit that lag through their telepathic link as Kaji hears the machinery telling him that the body is going to move. They can just be in tandem perfectly.
Like Gaku has no clue that this is going on. He just thinks he's fighting these dudes. So like, I'm guessing like, I think they're gonna knock the headset off, because you see that like at some point when they throw Mafuyu, he actually does, I guess, land a hit, or maybe it's just the force of like this dude hitting so hard, but like both of their like shades crack.
He definitely hits him. He hits him in the fucking eye. For sure.
And so I'm thinking that Kaji's probably gonna like hear like his left arm whirling up and think like, okay, he's going for his left. Shin's gonna go for the right and like kick him in the face and break the glasses or something. Then at that point, the dude, Gaku can't see anything, so it's like it's free hits. The Gaku can't do anything if they take the headset off this guy.
Yeah,
Right.
because they already established the previous chapter that Gaku was only like he had his headphone. He was like pushed his glasses up and was like talking. And he's like, "Hey, I can't move anymore." And it's like, "No, you got to put the glasses down." So the glasses are the key. They're reading the brain. So like without them, he can't move. So it has a fatal weakness, so you can concentrate a single target. You need to do that, focus that down, and then it's just been pretty well established that like I think they'll figure out it's VR eventually.
Yeah.
Because of all like the pantomiming thing, they're like, "What's he doing?" And
Yeah.
Because I love that part where he like does like a jump back and immediately whacks his head on the side of the warehouse, and he's like, "Son of a bitch!" And Shania is just like,
he's like reacting to that,
or like the time he was eating a sandwich, and it's just like, okay, I see this. I think they'll eventually figure it out and be like, well, if it's someone's puppeting this guy, it needs a controller.
Yeah.
Let's break the glasses.
And it's like Gaku really isn't operating at full capacity because his limits in his physical space are more confined than the outdoor battleground that the robot Shin, Mafuyu and the rest of the people are fighting in, right? Because they're like entirely outside in the wilderness. Gaku is in this warehouse. I think that that'll also be another factor in the advantage that they will have when defeating him, is that they'll make him run into a wall or something.
They'll probably like spread out and make him come to him and test his boundaries or whatever.
And maybe even if not that, like if they do like deduce that this is like a virtual reality situation and they like somehow decide that like this dude or come to the realization that this dude is in a confined space and not also outside, they can definitely take advantage of that for the W and like force him to run into any one of these walls in this warehouse so that he can't escape the next following attack. And I think that could be how they get the headset off of him, is by like taking advantage of this very comedic thing that has been kind of like set up so far, where Gaku leans against a wall inside of the warehouse, and then the robot that he's piloting does the pantomime. Like that's been kind of used as comedy up until this point, but I definitely see it inside of Sakamoto ending up being the advantage that gets the protagonist team the W. I could just totally see the scene now. Like, holy shit, these guys are really reading my movements. Hold on, I need to get a little bit more space and like reset. Oh shit, a wall? Boom! You know what I mean?
And then the
like,
fucking axe come that cuts this dude in half or something, and Gaku can't back up.
Type shit, yeah.
Oh, that's really good using like the physical area. I hadn't thought about that, to be honest.
Yeah, I could totally see that. Especially if they, deduce that he is operating this guy in virtual reality. They would also have to, put it together that he's in a confined space and not also outside, which they have plenty of clues to look back on in the fight. You know what I mean? He leans against a wall in the pantomime. He opens up a fucking bottle and takes a sip of something. You know what I mean?
Bonks
Like
his fucking head.
Yeah, bonks his head and shit. Like they could totally put it together. You know what I mean? I think that they have the facilities to do so, and I think that's what we'll see in the next chapter. I think that would be a really cool conclusion to it, because it doesn't mean that they outright overpowered Gaku's potential. It just means that they took advantage of a situation that Gaku didn't think was going to be an issue. It's not like we beat Gaku. It's we caught this man lacking. You know what I mean? So it works for the tension of the threat. You know what I mean? Now that if they beat Gaku here outright, it's like, okay, well, yeah, we know the real Gaku is stronger, but we already kind of faded you in one sense over here. Yeah. So like there's less tension going into the next Gaku encounter, even if it's just a little bit. No, this doesn't do anything for that, because if they beat him the way that we're talking about right now, it doesn't mean that they actually beat Gaku. So they
and even the real even the real Gaku has like disregard for like things like his old body parts. Like you cut his arm off and he's gonna kick it at you. Like this dude's different.
Yeah, this dude is like way too resourceful for any of these characters.
I bumped into a wall, I will kick it down. So I have more room to swing around.
It could be something like that. Yeah, you never know. But I just think it's cool, like if it does end up being like kind of what we're discussing right now is the way that they kind of take him down, because then we still have no idea what the real Gaku fight will look like later. It's still a very massive obstacle because you only beat him because of a, like MacGuffin kind of like, or
very
not
tight
MacGuffin, but
conditions.
like a very specific condition allowed you to get the W. So yeah, I think that would be the coolest way to do it. Obviously, Yuto Suzuki can just do something entirely different that's way better than what we're thinking of right now, which is usually the case inside of these reviews. So I'm excited no matter what for the continuation, but I feel really strong about the discussion we just had about the continuation of this fight. So
yeah, and I don't think I've ever seen like a win like that, like just because some VR shit, dudes like controlling him off on the island somewhere, he bumps into the closet and falls down. Like I've never seen some shit like that.
It feels really fresh because like we've in manga, like we see like puppeted guys all the time, but usually it's through magic or like a parasite or something. So like it's a little too perfect, and I like that this has flaws because like initially Shania seemed unbeatable, like overwhelmingly powerful, and then as the chapters progress, as they learn more, as we learn more, we notice these little things that are like small imperfections that could lead up to a more even playing field than we believe.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Love that.
I think they're gonna pin him to a wall or something, and like pull his glasses off.
Type shit.
Cut him in half with a fucking gun axe or something.
I think they definitely win by removing the goggles. I don't think they kill this man.
Well, I mean, they tried to snipe him like last week. The dude was like, "All right, shoot," and then Gaku like grabbed another guy, caught the bullet with the dude's face.
Yeah,
so,
and then threw him at the other guy. No, Gaku robot has been killing people. But Gaku robot, like especially if they find out that this is a virtual reality, like you're controlling this body from elsewhere, they're really not gonna want to kill this dude, and they don't like be killing people anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I can't see it ending that way. I definitely think they just remove the goggles in some really cool, pin you in a corner kind of situation like we were talking about. So
slap him, fucking hit some smelling salts under his nose or something. Wake up, bitch!
Wake up! Hell yeah! But I think that's all I had for Sakamoto Days. Did you guys have anything else before we move on?
The only thing I thought was kind of funny was they talked about the advertisement. If you zoom in on page 9 to the ad, it's like... Oh, shoot. Where is it?
This is literally what I was going to say, too. When Mello was done, I was literally going to say the exact same thing. I know you're going.
All right. But I like, it's like, duties, you don't have to do anything. It's one of those shadiest ads you've ever seen. It's like those things in the ads, like, are you young? You should try out these things. And I'm like, you're going to get human trafficked. That's a scam. Like,
no. Yeah, no, like, I never even thought about this at all. This is like a very shady hiring page.
Applicants must be flexible.
Yeah, that's what I was going to talk about, because he's talking about this guy's flexible, like he's the only person that was flexible enough. Like I'm thinking flexible, like you got to be able to work, these shifts. And no, this dude's actually flexible.
Yo, that's like, hilarious.
There's an ad that's like, we will pay you more for commute than we will hourly, but you need to be physically flexible. I'm like, I'm going to get trafficked.
Yeah.
No. I'm going to end up body parts. Some ancient crone is going to get like my ligaments or something like that.
Yo.
This shit is cool though. Like in the next panel, you see Gaku like jump in the air, throwing a kick. It's like this is funny. Like,
yeah, with no background, just like wow.
Yeah.
And then the dude's like shaking him, like, "All right, get your head in the game." And I wonder, like, because they don't show Shania like heads bobbing or whatever.
Oh yeah, they don't. You're right.
But I guess it does happen. I guess it does happen because like that bottom panel, like you see Shin and them like getting up on them.
Yeah.
So
they're looking at him. So they definitely saw them. And you want to know what? I bet you the off-screen like movements in relation to Gaku's comedic movements with the deer head dude, like on page 9. Like I bet you, like once they piece together that this is a VR situation, there will be like flashback thoughts to, when he like randomly got jerked around in his head bobble, when he leaned against a wall, even though there was no wall, when he opened up, a can and drank from it, they're going to be like putting it together. Yeah, I can see. I can see Shin and Kaji like thinking back to all of these funny moments when, Gaku moved in an unpractical way.
Not insane.
Yeah,
people are doing this. What does this usually mean? He's got like goggles on.
Yeah, and why did he just randomly start like head bobbling in the middle of the fight too? Like, what's going on over here?
Listening to music?
Yeah. I could totally see it, being kind of pieced together through these really funny moments that we don't get the Shania equivalent for.
Yeah, the comedy is gonna be his downfall.
Yeah, straight up.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that'll do it for Sakamoto Chapter 68. All right, moving into Mission Yozakura Family, Mission 127, Idiot.
Idiot.
Love this chapter.
Dummy.
Very straightforward conclusion to this against Kyoichiro conflict situation. It pretty much wrapped up exactly how we kind of assumed it would. Last chapter, it was made clear that Taio's blooming was specifically neutralizing Kyoichiro's blooming. So when he goes in for the tackle at the end of last chapter, it was pretty obvious, at least to me, that it was just going to do exactly what it did in this chapter. But the way that everybody kind of reacts afterwards was like really wholesome and great, and I loved how it kind of like went back to, you know, a point of normalcy. But the fact that they literally say it in the dialogue, like, finally, we can go back to normal. As soon as I read that line, I was like, oh no. I was like, what does that mean? Yeah, I was like, what is the end of this chapter going to be? And obviously we see Momo, you know what I mean? You know, for the cliffhanger.
You know, you were talking about this a couple chapters ago,
Was
or I think a review or two ago. We were talking about what's Tsubomi's game plan, right? Like, is the poisonous bloom that Koichiro is like dealing with, is that like taking into account Taio's bloom or not? Is this a way to infect the whole family? No, it wasn't, but it was a tactic to get the whole family in a single place.
Oh shit.
Because you were talking about 5-headed plans, and I was like, what is it? It can't. I was convinced it couldn't be the bloom, because they seem to be too focused on the family, you know what I mean, to like consider outsiders, etc., or like other outward environmental elements, etc., in their plans. So I was like, all right, cool. And then straight to kind of like, because this is kind of the meat of the chapter, which is the payoff at the end. Momo appearing, and he's like, oh yes, I've got the whole family, head included, out in the open.
Yeah, like, and the only thing that, like, I think what makes me even more anxious about this situation is that I really do not know what Momo's headspace is like at all. Like, we had, like, he is still such an enigma, especially in regard to like his motivations. You know what I mean? So like, is him showing up here a good thing or a bad thing? You literally never know whenever he shows up. So it's just like nail bitey ass shit. Even more nail bitey than if we just knew he was a villain. I almost want to say
much different. Like it's like scary. Like it's. You don't know if he's gonna like actually congratulate them and, you know, give them some good information, or if he's just gonna like he could press a button and all of them just get fucking sucked up into some weird ground trap that he's got laid here. You never know. Like,
and he's got like such a shady design. Like, you literally cannot read his emotions at all, because his eyes are covered by these glasses. His mouth is covered by this Charlie Chaplin mustache. His like hair is like, you know, it's just like a creepy and mysterious design. He dresses like a public exposer, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's about to fucking like whip the fucking, you know, jacket open on you. You know,
you can't read his body language because his whole cloak covers his body.
And type like, shit.
We do get tears though.
Yeah, we do get tears.
But like,
that could be
tears.
Mean
he's not gonna like do what he has to do, you know?
Right.
It's like, oh, I'm heartened by this. This is a beautiful display of emotion and family, but that has no place in what I need to do.
Right.
You know,
you never know what these tears can mean. You know what I mean?
I wonder if the chat, like the way the chat bubble is, has any like meaning for it too, because like the first one where it's like how marvelous is like a regular white chat bubble, but then like the next one, like it's kind of like gray and the text is there, you see?
Yeah, that too.
It kind of,
it's like, it's like, oh, it is a good thing, and then this kind of shades of gray, opaque, like he's being transparent, but like, what does that transparency mean? And I just feel like if I were the antagonist, this would be the perfect time to strike. Koichiro is weak enough that Taio can get to him, and like the whole family's expended a lot of resources trying to slow down Koichiro. And it's not like Taio's weak or anything, but like he did get kind of messed up like they all did, fighting the eldest brother. So I feel like this is the prime time to get everybody.
This is the perfect time.
Yeah, yeah. The uncertainty is insane because it's like you either are happy that your family is all together and they like, cleared this hurdle together, or, you're excited that your family is all together because now you got them all in one place and you can like drop the whatever on them. You know what I mean?
Like, is this a test or is it a trap?
Yeah, it's like, man, I have no idea.
It's pretty tricky.
Yeah.
I appreciate like the family's like rage, like wholesome rage against their older brother. On page 16, it's like, yo, be a punching drags. I want to test new drugs. I just happen to run out of gun mannequins. Let's stay awake and grind me a whole level set on WoW. Like,
yeah, and let's do these dress
Tango
shows.
is just like, let me dress you up, little sailor man.
Yeah, and he's just like, oh my god, kill me. I should have escaped. Yeah.
I would rather die. No, this is your punishment.
And Futsuma's talking about like, let's get ready now, let's get started now, like while they're on this like whatever island or whatever. She's like, well, shall we get straight into the warm-up exercises?
Right, and even before
Please
that,
let me write a will.
And even before that, the reactions are like so good because it's like, man, you don't need like an overabundance of dialogue, explaining the emotions and feelings of the siblings now that the conflict is kind of over. It could have been very easy to just have everyone cussing Kyoichiro out, but all that really needs to happen is Futaba walks up, smacks the shit out of him, never again, fam. And he's just like, yeah you're right. And then after that, it goes back into that wholesome rage, that Mello was, kind of bringing up, where everyone is still kind of acting, normal the same way they would have, if this situation didn't happen, but with the slightest hint of spice attached to it because they are bitter that he just put them through all of this kind of thing. But it's communicated so well in such a small space, and a lot of it is, facial expressions and body posture and things like that communicate the way that these family members really feel about the situation in a way that doesn't require a bunch of expository dialogue about it. You know what I mean? So Hitsujiko and Daira has just made this family feel so alive and real that you can communicate a lot with very little.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it like I feel like y'all talked about it in the last review. Like he's going off and doing this shit and thinking he has to do it alone, and that's gonna piss them off because like why don't you trust your family? Like that's all you got. You guys only have each other, and you're gonna like go off on this rogue mission to try and like save the day yourself when like all of these guys are capable. Yeah. Every one of your family members is like skilled at what they do. No one there is no weak link.
As a member of this household, do you really believe you know better than the head of the house?
Right.
Like, it's just like, hey man, like if you're like, we're gonna allow Mitsumi to be a decision maker, and he even talks about it like 2 chapters ago or something. It's like, I underestimated Mitsumi. I only saw her through rose-colored glasses. I didn't understand her as a family member, only as an older protective brother. She's working, she's struggling, and I didn't even notice, that kind of stuff. It's just like, you gave her props, but are you really acknowledging those same props consistently? And no, you're still, falling back. Only I can trust myself. Only I make the right decisions. I'm doing. My family's all dumb for not allowing me to do it my way, and they're putting him back in his place and being like, "Hey, man, like, no, like we know what we're doing."
Yeah. We understand why you are the way you are when it comes to Mutsumi. We have that character work now. We have that like whole picture. You know what I mean? And now that Kyoichiro is at this point in his arc, and the Somenin, situation has kind of been neutralized, and all of that anxiety of like what potential harm he could bring his family personally is gone. Now the dust kind of settles, and you can just see Mutsumi and see everything that you're supposed to see instead of what you think you need to do as an overprotective brother. Those flaws are being kind of overcome after this conflict, and now he can really see his younger sister for what she really is. And it's like, you have just as important of a role in this family as we do. each individually in our overarching goal of keeping the family together and keeping the family safe. It's not just you're this little baby that needs to be looked over and protected at all times. It's like you're the head of this whole fucking family and you get to cook. My bad, I'm gonna let you cook now. You know what I mean? So it feels really good, man. Yeah.
Every character has like had their arc, and like they've going from being who they were in the beginning to like progressing, and like if it seems like Kyotaro was kind of like set, like thinking he couldn't be somebody who changes, and they kind of come in and like, yo, you don't have to be this way anymore, bro. You don't have to only rely on yourself. Like you can rely on us. Like they saved him from keeping himself where he was.
Yeah. It's
he
that
very
character.
static.
Yeah, it's that character. It's that character arc structure that we were talking about, last chapter, where you have Kyoichiro in this very, high position inside of the family, and that he has the facilities to deserve that position, but everything else is wildly enigmatic. So you have no real idea on how to view the character arc of a character like that while they're that mysterious. And then you introduce, the selfish want that's replaced by the life lesson that makes them realize how naive the previous want was, and now they can finally see the vision of what their character arc really means, and they got the life lessons that they needed to be the full potential of the character. And now we can just move forward into what I'm assuming is going to be the final conflict, with everyone at 100% in line with what their goals are, what their ambitions are, what their visions are, like what their end of the tunnel light is. And that just feels really good going into a final conflict.
You think we're going into like a final like arc, or just like wrapping up whatever this current issue is?
We can wrap up whatever this current issue is, and there can definitely be more storytelling in between, like what happens in this chapter and whatever the final arc would be. But like everything feels so primed for whatever the final confrontation in Mission Yozakura family is. And obviously, Momo is the wild card outlier that can make this go a lot longer or a lot shorter. You know what I mean? You literally never know. But until new
long as he's there,
yeah, exactly. And like him being here, like I just automatically just have like a very shady view of this character. I feel like a lot of people do. You know what I mean? So you want to assume that him, coming in at the end here could potentially, speed up the final conflict with Tsubomi, or he could be totally wholesome right now, and it could go back to slice of life storytelling for who knows how long until the next major conflict is introduced. But it seems like all of the boxes have been kind of like checked as far as like plot points go, and now all we really need to do is just take down Tsubomi. You know what I mean? So you never know how that's going to be executed and presented, but like we definitely could be, going into the second to last or final arc right now.
Yeah.
I feel like it's gonna be like it's the tee up to the big swing. And so I feel like what he might do is like do some like mildly wholesome stuff and then confirm their actual suspicions, even though they're like, I'm still leery of you. I want him to confirm their suspicions, and I want him to whisk away Mitsumi.
Oh shit.
And so then the next mission is rescue Mitsumi, and then what's gonna happen next?
Have we gotten a rescue Mitsumi situation in Yozakura family before?
They did it in the beginning of the series, and they did it a little midway. I feel like when she got kidnapped and she had that big white streak, right? Like that was the aftermath of that, and that was when like Tsubomi was like really first being introduced. So I feel like this is the bookend, right? Like the beginning, middle, and final act is where it's always about Mitsumi. So I feel like that might be the case for that. And then it would be a prime time because all the siblings are weakened after fighting each other and stuff.
Yeah.
And then they'll go back and talk to the president of the Spy Association, like, hey, here's everything we know about Tsubomi. Can you help us figure out where she might be? And then, cool, give me some time. I'm going to think about it. Mild training montage. Go fight.
Yeah.
Do the damn thing. Save the day. Stop Tsubomi. Or, like, hunt down, Tsubomi root clusters until the president's like, I figured it out. Like, check out these leads for me if you could. And it's like, oh, red herring, weakening Tsubomi's grasp, forcing her to consolidate her forces, that kind of thing. But that's kind of what I'm projecting, imagining.
Yeah, I think if we are moving into like final arc or whatever final-ish territory, I think that this is probably a good time because like the stories move through and followed every character and shown their growth and stuff. And Kyojiro was the only one that was kind of staying static or whatever, like you guys were saying a moment ago. And now he's understanding that like he can't do it alone and he's got to work with his team, his family. So
Mhm.
now they can go into this final thing without leaving out like Kyoichiro's growth and making it seem like, oh, they forgot a character. They never gave Gondara never gave Kyoichiro his moment to like, change who he was and become better,
Mhm.
as a person. So
Mm.
Ooh, and then they can mark the like ticking time bomb threat of Mitsumi's hair growing more and more white.
Oh, is that a
And
thing?
the back, like, because like she had the first streak, and it was like that was an expression of like her like doing too much of like the summoning type stuff
Mm-hmm.
and like being interactive things. So like if Tsubomi has her, it can be given like a visual countdown clock of like when her hair is completely white, it's theoretically she will be completely consumed by Tsubomi.
Oh wow, I
yeah,
completely forgot
Right?
about the
game
streak in the
over.
hair thing. Like I didn't
Game
know like
over.
how that played into like the plot at all. I didn't even think
Yeah.
about it. I thought it was just like an aesthetic detail for Mutsumi. I completely forgot
I
it
couldn't
was like a
remember how
thing.
it happened. I thought it was
Yeah.
like stress related or something.
I
Yeah.
might be wrong,
Oh
but I
sure.
believe this strongly. If
Yeah.
you guys would be so kind in the comments, let us know if I'm on the right track or anything. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Can't
appreciate you
remember. Yeah.
guys.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I feel like that's just something that could be, on the table. That's what it's just like half my predictions are just projections and be like, you know what, this would be kind of cool. This would be interesting. This is what I
Yeah, for
would
sure.
kind of try to do if I was doing something within this vein.
Yeah. Sometimes the details blend together.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm
Oh yeah.
saying? But yeah, let us know in the comments if we remembered that properly, correctly.
There's one thing that I thought was kind of interesting. They were talking about how the poison isn't spreading and it's completely gone. But at the
The
same
poison isn't what?
time, they said on page 7, Shion said it was this poison's completely gone. But then I was thinking, it's like, oh, it's still like a somanine based thing. It's still in the blood. It's still in the body. And I wondered, is it truly completely gone or is it completely suppressed?
Yeah.
Is this going to be a thing like a chronic illness or a cancer where it goes in remission and it flares up at
Yeah.
bad times?
Yeah.
Where, like, it's a good way for Koichiro to be nerfed in a way that is believable and then also forces them to like you can't solo everything yourself. You need Tayo to come with you to keep you down, to keep you tied up
Yeah.
and keep you from using your I'm OP potential to
Kind of
like
like
one shot all the problems.
Right.
kind of like how in Dandadan they gotta stay with Gigi and keep a bottle of water. Like
Mm-hmm.
somebody's gotta be with Kyoichiro at all times. It will Taya, so it'd be cool. So he
Yeah, that
can't
is
go
cool.
off all these
Yeah.
rogue missions and
I
shit.
feel like
Yeah,
that
that's
might
a
be a thing
really
going
cool
forward.
thought, man. Wow, I didn't even think about it like that. I love that.
Yeah, I like that.
But other than that, I don't think I have anything else in this bag.
Yeah, this chapter was dummy straightforward. Like all of like,
Yeah.
conclusion chapters with like crazy cliffhanger endings, are usually like mad straightforward like this. Like everything is kind of just like on the sleeve, in your face. Not a whole lot of meat and potatoes to deep dive and like make assumptions and inferences for, obviously, except for the cliffhangers. So I think we
Yeah.
gave this a pretty good combo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm good with it.
Good shit, gentlemen. That'll do it for Mission Yozakura Family 127. Jujutsu. Getting into Jujutsu Kaisen, chapter 182, Tokyo number 2 Colony Part 2. How do we feel?
Love it.
Interesting.
Yeah, this chapter was fucking tight, man.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so glad that this is like, Hikari focused at this point in the story right now. This is definitely the perspective I think that a lot of people were really wanting coming out of the Yuta stuff. So I'm glad that we're here. Honestly, Gege could have chosen any perspective and blanked. We all know that. But I'm very happy that we're getting fucking Hikari right now because this motherfucker is fighting with his hands in his pockets with fucking Timberlands on. So it's like, you got me. Yeah. You see the motherfucking boots? You know what I'm saying?
Hikari is a man of the people.
Yeah.
On this first page before you go, like what the official, there's a sound effect in the left, and it just says crunk with like a K, and I'm immediately thinking of like Lil Jon and East Side Boys like crunk music.
Yeah,
I'm just thinking like, I know it's probably like the sound of the machinery or like glass breaking, but like my head was like, fucking Lil Jon and the East Side Boys is some crazy.
I didn't even
crazy
notice it.
shit.
Yeah, I didn't even see the crunk sound effect. That's fucking
Music.
hilarious.
Man. I think that, see, the thing is, like, we were talking about how Higuruma charmed the fuck out of us in this chapter. Charmed the fuck out of us in like just 2 chapters, right?
Yep.
Reggie charmed us in a few chapters, but like I think that Charles Bernard is made to be obnoxious and like is made so that Hikari charms us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's like the opposite foil of Yuji, right? Where it's like Yuji is an empathetic character we care about a lot, but the Hikari is a character that we know extremely little about, and like a lot of people are like are very split on the idea of like Hikari hype, Hikari kype, which I am part of, but like
Hikari what? Like, Hikari kype?
Hikari hype.
Oh, hype. My bad. I was like,
I thought you said hype on one side and then another word like kype on another.
Yeah, I was.
Sorry. No, I'm speaking too fast.
Yeah, no,
speaking in tongues, bro.
Yeah, you got it. You got it.
Or some people are like, I'm not interested in that character. I hope he gets smoked, blah, 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 blah. And I've seen like both sides of the argument. I think that Charles Bernard's fight is built to endear us to Hikari and make him a more important character within our like emotional spectrum.
Yeah.
Of like care within this massive cast.
Yeah, you got a point. I like what you're talking about right now, right? Because like when Yuji fought Higuruma, we already know Yuji, we already love Yuji, we're already invested in that character. So you have to give Higuruma the kind of personality that we can resonate with and, you know, invest ourselves in and like, you know what I mean? Fushiguro, you know what I mean? Megumi, same situation. So Reggie then has to be, you know, written in a way that charms the audience, kind of like what you're talking about. But in this situation, we don't know Hikari and we don't know Charles. So make Charles a douchebag to further, you know, level up our perception of Hikari makes a lot of sense in this like kind of reverse situation to the previous fights in the Culling games that focused on characters that we already knew a great deal about. So I like what you're talking about right now a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've definitely seen people saying too that like, why do I care about these guys? We don't know anything about Hikari. We don't know anything about Charles. Like, well, I don't care. Boring fight. And I'm like, just give it a week, bro. Just, you know, wait a second. You're gonna fuck with Hikari.
You haven't even seen the fight.
You were gonna like Charles. Like Gege gave us these characters. He gave us fucking, you know, Reggie. Like going into the Culling games, we knew the names of some characters. We knew like Angel. We knew Kashima. We knew Higuruma. But like when we actually got into the games, we met characters like Reggie and Sakaba, like that we had no clue that were gonna fucking appear, and Remy, just characters that just came out of nowhere. They were cool. Like Reggie was cool. You know, everybody bagged on him at first because he looked like a goofball.
And then
but
as soon as he got his writing, everyone's like, holy shit, Gege made me love this character. And now all of a sudden you guys are forgetting that Gege does things like this when it comes to Charles.
Does this shit.
And Hikari.
You will drop a character in here and you will love him. Give it 2 or 3 weeks, bro.
Yeah,
you might not care about Hikari yet.
Yeah, no matter how they're introduced, they can introduce them in like the silliest, craziest, dumbest way, like Gege literally has already in the story. And then by the end of that focus, we'll have a newfound appreciation for the characters. So just like let this nigga cook, you know what I mean? Like, come on, bro.
We really need to let people cook, especially in a series like Jujutsu Kaisen. We talked earlier in this episode alone of like, you know what? You can't blow your load. You can't tell them what someone exactly is right away, who they are up front. No one cares about like a wall of text. It's like, this is who they are in their entirety. This is what motivates them, all this stuff. You need to spoon feed it. You need to like spool it out and like, you know, tease these things out so that we can absorb it at a digestible rate.
Right.
And I was thinking like this Culling Games is actually becoming it. I feel like it will be. I don't know what's coming after, but so far, like by the time Culling Games ends, I feel like it's gonna be like my strong favorite,
Yeah.
and just for a lot of reasons. But like last week, you guys were talking about how in the beginning of Jujutsu Kaisen it starts off and it's like shaman versus curses, but now we're in the Culling Games and it's like it's everyone. It's like
Sorcerers versus
lawyers.
sorcerers. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, but it's like more than like it's like people. Like
People versus people.
it's
Yeah.
fucking bus
Yeah.
drivers. It's manga
Yeah.
artists. It's fucking lawyers.
Stand-up
It's these
comics.
Yeah, it's
crazy,
comedians.
deep philosophical clashes.
Yeah, and anyone
Yeah.
can be a sorcerer, and like
Yeah.
it's people's experiences versus other people's experience. Like Charles is
Yes.
very inexperienced. You can see that in this fight. Like, while Hikari is fighting this dude with his hands in his pockets,
Yes.
basically making fun of him, and mentally like he's like demoralizing the guy, making it so that
It's
he
like,
doesn't
I
want
don't
to
take
fight
you
anymore.
seriously.
Right.
Yeah, he's fucking around with him. He's kicking him in the head and shit. He's slapping him around like it's like a goofy fight. And like that shows you Hikari's experience versus Charles' experience. He has
Yes.
no clue what's going on. And like I really like that, and I want to see more. I always say I haven't got to say it on stream, obviously, because it's my second time here. But like I always
Yeah.
say, like this reminds me of like a battle royale. Like it is a battle royale. People are like jumping to the conclusions too quickly, saying we don't know enough about these characters. When this is like Fortnite, this is like Warzone. Characters they walk into this area,
Yeah.
they're fucking dropped in random places, and they're told to go fight.
Yeah.
And I'm waiting for a scene where somebody wakes up like a civilian, somebody who didn't leave, and they're like going downstairs to eat breakfast, and like a fight just bursts through their house, like because they're still in the danger zone, and like
Yeah.
fucking somebody's like, "Oh, thanks for the spoon." They take the spoon out of dude's kitchen, stab someone's eyeball with it. Like I'm waiting for some shit that's like that I can
Yeah.
relate to, because if I'm living in a battle royale zone, I'm expected. You should probably expect somebody to come fly through your kitchen at some point.
Right.
It's
That'd be
dangerous.
cool. Like a moment
Yeah.
where it's just like you're breaking through someone's breakfast and he's like, "Get the fuck out of here!"
Yeah.
Throws a
Yeah.
coffee that causes like a scalding smoke screen that causes the moment. It's like, I can take advantage of this and reverse
Yeah.
the fight. you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, it is like, thanks, random guy. You helped me out.
And he's like, "Get the fuck out of here!" All right, random guy.
Yeah.
The last
So,
point
like,
that
I'm
I
really-
kind of have on the, character writing inside of the Culling Games, as far as characters that are introduced that we think we're not going to care about, that we end up loving by the end of their focus, I think it's actually a really good tactic in an arc like this to introduce characters and make the audience assume one thing about them. Gege obviously leads us in a certain direction as far as our perception of these characters go initially, just to zag back and give us almost a diametrically opposing, perception of that character by the end of their writing. You know what I mean? When you have that kind of whiplash inside of your character arcs that are really tight and controlled and quick, it creates like, an emotional roller coaster, which then allows for more emotional investment in the character thereafter, because you're like, wait, I thought I had this dude figured out, and now wait, they ended up being an entirely different person. That's really cool that the author was able to communicate this in a very quick amount of time with other, intense stimuli going on around it. It's just like overall creates even, maybe not a conscious for a lot of people realization, but it can be unconscious too. Like it's just more appreciation for the situation. You're almost just like unconsciously impressed by the way that the author is able to juggle and balance all of these things in really tight scenes. So
Yeah.
I love
Next
that
thing
about
you
the
know-
Culling Game and Gege's writing in general. Yeah.
Yeah. Next thing you know, you're in love with these characters you thought you wouldn't care about. Gege there was no warning for Uro and Ishigori. They just appeared and you loved them.
Yeah. Yeah. Whether it's conscious or unconscious, that kind of like whiplash effect in character arcs can do a lot for someone's perception and appreciation of a series, I want to say.
Yeah, no, it's honestly,
Especially
it
when the
speaks-
writing's this good too. Yeah.
It really speaks to the writing, where it's just like you're able to take these random characters and give them compelling, believable dialogue that people relate to them, and that's enough.
Yeah. 100.
What do you guys think of the abilities?
Yeah,
so
the
far?
abilities are really fucking cool, man. This like G battle staff on TCB, but like G war staff. I read it as Guar, which is like a really funny,
Guar staff.
really funny band. Yeah, that I used to listen to back in high school. But
yeah.
but I like this is like so cool, man. Like I'm like a really big fan of giant pen weapons.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like calligraphy pen weapons. You know what I mean? Like Zhangqi in ancient Chinese mythology. I can't think of any other examples off the top of my head.
Like
Oh, well
Dynasty
then,
War.
Dynasty
things.
Warriors, and like you also have like there's this manhua called Tiger X Crane. It's a Chinese manga, and the main character is essentially, you know, a shonen main character representation of Zhang Kui from like ancient Chinese lore. So these like doing crazy shit, writing fucking you know, kanji in air. You know what I mean? With his giant ink pen, you know, calligraphy staff, you know, and then that activates like certain like runes and abilities and shit. I love that kind of shit, you know, and the way that it's kind of used in this chapter with Charles' character, it's really cool because it feels like this is one of the most nen ability feeling jutsu shiki that I you know can think of in recent memory inside of Jujutsu Kaisen. Like I hit you with the shit and it fills with, you know, ink, and the more full it gets with ink, the more into the future I can read your movements. That's like amazing, bro. What
It's
the
a
hell?
dope ability.
Yeah.
I love the pen being the thing because it is a G-nib pen, which I learned about because I read a series called Bakuman, where these two young kids are gonna be mangaka, and they were like, "Yeah, we're doing the thing," and they're like, "G-nib pens are the ones that you use for manga," and so like, all right, cool. Charles isn't just like, you know, spouting out his, you know, backside talking about stuff, and he's like, he knows what he's talking about. He's just not compelling.
I actually wish you didn't say that, because I'm gonna like send this video to my friends, and like 2 of them are always fucking telling me to watch Pokemon, and I just don't do it. And if they see this, they're gonna be like, "Yeah, the guy on the fucking show told you to watch it, dumbass."
Well, they got you.
Like,
you know what I mean? Because what are you doing?
Now
that's
obligated to.
That's
yes,
a great.
Yes, comments. Tell him to watch it.
Anything that Takashi Obata and Sugumi Oba do, like they're like a really strong duo inside of the manga game, like Death Note, Bakuman. I haven't done Platinum End yet, but I heard like good things about that too. It's just
I liked Bakuman.
I feel like they rarely miss.
It explained to me a lot of aspects of the industry that I didn't understand, and like how different series take their premises and convey them. And I was like, all right, cool. And I definitely like parts of that have influenced my like critique style when I come on the show and talk about this or that. And it kind of the reading ahead, like a second ahead, kind of makes sense for Charles's personality, in that he has an art-based tool, but he doesn't create anything. He just knows what's happening or what's going to happen. He's copying, right? Like he doesn't create a thing. He's just reading the thing because he's more of a consumer of media than he is a creator of media. Because he's quoting the author of Deke Rayman. He's quoting like scenes from a different series. He starts like doing like the turbid ebb and flow of emotion, which is like reminded me of a poem. I'll talk about that later. But like it seems to me like he's quoting other people's material a lot more, and it seems like he's more of a like an observer than he is an actor, a creator of things.
Oh, go ahead, Yato.
I was just gonna say, I feel like at first, like when we first got like this character's introduction and realized that he was gonna be a player in the Culling games, I feel like most people like immediately jumped to Heaven's Door, thinking his ability would be something similar to that from JoJo's. I don't know if you read or watch JoJo's, but Heaven's Door, you're JoJo. So in part 4, JoJo's Araki actually created like a self-insert character, and it's a manga, and his stand ability allows him to like he wrote manga or whatever, this character, and he could like open your face up like a book and read it and see like what you would do and stuff. And he would also like rewrite lines of your life, so he could like write in there that he was always your friend, or he could write in there that like you can never attack me, and like he'll close your face up and then like you just can't attack him anymore. He's written it in your life
in stone.
It's written in your life that you can't attack him. So I think a lot of people were like thinking that it would be something like that, but also not. I can't remember what I was thinking. Maybe something like he would write like on air, or like after the thumb thing or whatever. I thought that like he would maybe like draw in a book and like he would do something like the editor was like, yeah, fingers don't bend that way, and he was like, fuck you, and broke it. I was thinking maybe his ability might be
like
what he
small
draws,
scale reality manipulation in that way.
like I thought he would like draw Hikari with his arm bent backwards or something. Even if it's a stick figure, like Hikari's arm would actually bend backwards.
He does like a Horikoshi homage, but he draws like a giant hand, but the hand's all wonky. And
I thought he was gonna do like the opposite of what the editor was saying, and that would like be his cursed ability. But like this is cooler. I like this because what I was saying felt like way more difficult. But this is cool.
Not only would it, and like this is cool because it's like it's not wildly broken, but it makes sense for Charles's interest and personality as a character. You know what I mean? Like it's just enough manga. Like as an ability in a vacuum, it's just enough connected to manga to make sense as an ability for him. But the real like manga aspect of this character comes through his dialogue and how much of an otaku he is. You know what I mean? And how much he loves the medium and the craft. You know what I mean? So you get that through dialogue. Meanwhile, his ability isn't really all that manga related. You know what I mean? Like he hits you with the pen. You know what I mean? He can see into your future. I love the little example that he gives about how the ability works to put it into a more understandable, kind of situation. It's like the bottom left panel draws the reader's attention. I'm seeing your very near future. In the TCB translation, I feel like it's done a lot better because he says it's like catching the bottom left corner of the page in the corner of your eye. Right now I can see a little bit of your future. Like that paints the picture a lot better in a more simple, example in the dialogue than I feel like in the official translation. There's actually
a lot of use of language.
There's actually great use of language, and there's actually a lot of like major differences in the TCB translation to the official Viz translation. And I was even talking about it on Twitter. Like I got like this thought at like midnight last night, and I was like, wait a minute. What if there's no translator notes in the Viz translation?
This is the most crucial one too, because there's like 5 or 6 translator notes in this chapter from TCB, and like Viz Manga Plus, they just left it out. And
it's like, what makes you think we don't want that? Like why like you saw the raws, and you know what I mean? Like there are all of these like references and all of these things that really do just require translators notes for the sake of immersion and just for the sake of appreciation of the scenes that we're reading at the moment. Like that's just cool information to have. I don't know why Viz decides that the audience doesn't want or need that, but
like in this one page where he's telling them about the poem in the TCB translation. He says every mangaka departs the earth looking for fiction inside their heads. Reality is not enough to satisfy them. But the translator note says that the kanji here, the translator note, the kanji is universe, but the character reads the word fiction. So he's saying that like they're looking for like a universe in their head, and the kanji for earth is reality. So he's saying like the world isn't enough to satisfy them or whatever. And on the next page he's saying like in my reality fiction came to me, but they're saying the kanji is curse technique. So a curse technique came to him. He wasn't satisfied with like the real world. He's bored. Like not bored, but Hikari says boredom.
Right.
On the next page. There's a lot of translator notes here.
And these translator notes like actively work for deepening our understanding and appreciation of these characters, or specifically this character, Charles Bernard, you know what I mean? So it's like you really just should not be leaving this kind of shit out, because it's not only just really cool information to have, but like it seems to actively be going towards, our understanding of this character. So like that's also really important. Yeah.
He's also like cursing in French or whatever, and they leave that out too, I think.
Yeah, I realized I didn't know what that meant, and I was like, I'm gonna look it up, because I read both, and then I was focusing mostly on the official, because I just kind of want to stay in that just to maintain.
Yeah.
But I was like, it translates to shut the fuck up, and I'm like, oh, that's great, love that.
Yeah.
there was this part here that I liked where Hikari was just like, is it alright for a manga creator to use their pen for violence? And his response to Charles's justification is, oh, that's right. But in the series, TCB's translation, he literally says, but that wasn't real, though. He's like, so-and-so, split open this guy's head. He's like, yeah, but like that was fiction. Like, you're actually trying to hurt me. Like, like that has more emotional impact than, oh, that's all right,
Yeah. I think it's really cool how Akari is just not using a technique this entire fight. Obviously, just to flex or whatever and demoralize, Charles and whatnot. But it also just like is really crazy that he doesn't use it, and then at the end of the chapter, he opens up his domain expansion.
Yeah, I was gonna say this. He's the first person we've seen their domain before their like curse technique. I don't think we've ever seen that. Like he's flexing so hard that he's just jumping around, drop kicking him and shit, and then at the end he's just like, you know what, I'm done. Curse domain expansion, bro.
Right.
He's like, I'm tired of your games. Well, the thing is, he was talking about how there was a part where he's like, I could go easy on you, but an otaku like you would only find some selfish reason to start attacking people again. So I have to break you.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh yeah, no, I need to finish your ass, or you're just gonna, get mad over nothing and just like hurt people.
That line of dialogue is super funny in the TCB because it's just like so memeable, like instantly. Like he's in the TCB, he says an otaku like you will always find a reason to pick a fight, even over the simplest thing. And when I read that in the TCB translation, I was like, yo, is he talking about anime Twitter? I was like,
I had that thought too.
Yeah, I was like, is this a metatextual wink to anime Twitter right now? Like that's fucking hilarious.
Gege sees your tweets. He sees you all.
Yeah, he thinks you're all douchebags. So like, think about that.
Kind.
I also like really love the way that the future sight is represented with this like entirely screen tone, low opacity visage of Hikari the second ahead of time. I think that's really cool how it's represented in the art. Gege is just like so good on the creativity side of things when it comes to shit like this. So I was like,
it reminds me of printing.
Ooh, nice. Yeah.
Because like old school comics and stuff, and how they would print, and there would be like little lines or striations or like dots.
Yeah.
Little lines because of like the thin layer of dots and stuff. So I was like, yes.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. Going back to like I was saying about experience, I really like how this fight really shows the difference in experience in fighting that these two characters have, because like even though Hikari like is supposed to, like, you tell me you got a future sight ability, you should be, you should feel a disadvantage. But Hikari, knowing that this dude, he can tell this dude's a chump. He's looking at him and he's like, this guy's never been in a fight. So he quickly exposes the guy's like weakness. Like the guy has to, I guess, look at Hikari's belly to see it. So if he gets behind him, like your ability's useless. Like you can't look at the manga panel or whatever, so you don't know what's going on.
Right.
And it shows like his inexperience, and even in the end when he's like, what are you doing, what's this stupid pose, he's never seen domain expansion, he has no clue what is going on. He got an ability and he was like, I'm just gonna fight somebody who, first person to piss me off, I'm killing him. And he ran into like the worst guy for that. Hikari thinks it's a joke.
And it's crazy because it's like, he's talking about how inexperienced he is the whole time, but like Charles seems like pretty capable with this G-Pen staff, bro. Like if you look at like page, like I don't know what page it is, let me go to the official.
Page 10 or 11.
Like if you go to like page 10 and 11, like he's doing like bow staff shit like with leverage and momentum, and it feels like he's been fighting with a staff for like a while, you know what I mean? And I think it's really cool how you give him an ability that gives you such a broken advantage like future sight, and you still give him, capable physical stats on top of that. You know what I mean? Like it could have been really easy for him to just be like, I'm an inexperienced sorcerer, I don't know anything about this world, I had these abilities kind of given to me like not too long ago, like I know how to cut people with this nib and I know how my ability works, but like it could have been easy for him to just like not be this physically adept, right away. Like it could just be like, I slashed you and now I know what you're gonna do, and you know what I mean? Like he
Yeah.
doesn't have any, physical responses to the speed and maneuverability of Hikari, but instead Gege still gave him physical prowess on top of that. So there's
feel
still
like
a level of competence that comes with all of these characters regardless of their experience, which is really
I feel like
cool
he might have been in
situation.
some kind of tournaments and shit, like growing up or something. Parents make you do like fucking
karate and taekwondo.
Yeah,
and
so
shit.
he's probably
Yeah.
got like experience using like poles and stuff. But I don't think he's ever
Yeah.
been in like a street fight like Hikari.
Yeah,
Hikari
sure.
quickly picked that shit
Yeah.
apart.
I like that
I
too.
feel like he's done like what Yato is saying. He's done like those gong fu type like competitions. Like the spear with like the little tassel. That's like the really bendy spear with like the little like flip or like the swords that have like the red tassel but like the really flimsy blade.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. I feel like he's done that because it's like an otaku that grew up in Japan would definitely do that kind of shit.
Right. Yeah. I also like the situation where all of the culling game fights so far, have kind of been, high to extreme diff in one way or another. But this one, and you never know what happens, next chapter once this domain is expanded, and you never know what Gege is going to end up giving Charles, you know what I mean? But this seems like so one-sided, like it's only meant to establish Hikari's, physical dominance in this colony. You know what I mean? Like it's only meant to like literally just let us see Hikari do his thing, like Mello was saying earlier, so that we can, get Hikari's charm and fall in love with him as a character now that he's being focused on and fleshed out. It's cool if this does end up being a one-sided wallop from start to finish. That is cool how we are getting diversity in the fight difficulties inside of the culling games, and it's not always just going to be a bare knuckle high to extreme diff fight all the time just because we're focusing on two characters. Like it can be a one-sided beatdown if that is what Gege decides to do. Like I said, we have no idea what's going to happen next chapter once the domain is active and Charles has to deal with it, but it seems pretty one-sided in a couple of different ways. So I have a hard time, just based on the setup so far, I have a hard time seeing Charles do anything that would even remotely come close to making Hikari worried that he could lose, or even outright just having him lose. You know what I mean? Like this seems like he's got it in the bag, which is just a cool situation to get in the culling games that have been really high diff up into this point.
I think he does, and I don't really like. I don't think Hikari is going for a kill here either. Like, because I think he's just fucking with him, and now he's seen the type of person he is. And I ultimately, at the end of this fight, I think Hikari is gonna let him go. But the way I see it is
point transfer. You think?
I think what I think is Hikari's got behind this guy, and he swung the pin back, and Hikari caught it. He could have broke that pin. He could have smashed it, took it away from him. Hikari is stronger than this dude. Instead, he punched him in the back, sends him flying, and he's fighting him with his hands in his pockets.
Yeah.
And Hikari is not taking it serious at all. And then he's telling him, he's like, you're the kind of guy who you need to be shown that you really are not ready for this life. So I'm gonna break you. I'm gonna fuck you up and show you that you're not about this life. So I think what happens is, I don't know a lot of Japanese card games or whatever, but I feel like with the domain, I think what happens is he shows the domain, but Charles sees 2 seconds into the future. So I think since Hikari knows that he's got future sight, I think he just flexes the domain, and
lets him see the future. And then
what's
goes,
there is
all right,
I think what's there is it's an obvious game, like Russian roulette or something. Like he sees the gun on the table or something, or it's it's a game that's easy. The rules are easy to understand, like Uno. Like he saw that it's like an Uno table, but the floor is lava or something under the table. So he sees that it's an easy game, but he doesn't think he can win. And I think ultimately he is going to give up. But I think in the end, I'm kind of skipping to the end. We can still talk about more stuff, but
that's where we're at anyway.
I think the resolution for this fight will be Hikari becoming Charles's new motivation and target for his next like project. I think he will want to make like a manga based on either the Cullen games or Hikari, and Hikari
Oh,
will see that as a way to make money and be like, you know what,
let's
you
work
okay?
together. We could
You
get this
Oh my
money
God.
together. Yo, I love your passion. I love the fire inside of you. Hikari has already kind of been established as someone who likes to see the ambition in others and like resonate and like match his own ambition and passion with them, you know what I mean? So like I could definitely see that. It's also like just a huge flex because I think Hikari knows that his curse technique or his domain expansion is a hard counter to predictive abilities like Charles's, right? Because if like just looking at the name Idle Death Gamble, and the TCB translation is just way better to me, Restless Gambler. I don't know what it is about like adjective, you know,
Yeah.
like noun combos, like one adjective, one noun, like names for techniques and shit. But like I just like Restless Gambler so much more than Idle Death Gamble. But you know what I mean? Gambling and these games like at casinos and shit like that, it's all probability based. They're hard. There's specifically hard or impossible to predict on purpose because that's the whole risk reward aspect of gambling. You know what I mean? So for Charles to have a future sight ability, I can see your next move, and then for Hikari to counter with something that specifically makes it impossible or exceedingly difficult to predict a next move because maybe Hikari doesn't even know what it is because they're entrusting the entire process to the probability and uncertainty of gambling games, then like that can also be another crushing demoralization for Charles to think that he has a, you know, pseudo omniscient or, you know, just wildly broken advantage inside of his future sight to then first opponent he gets have a hard counter to that wildly powerful technique that had you so gassed up before. Like, yeah, this is all about spirit breaking. I love when you brought that up, Yato.
I mean, that's crazy because like I could see where you're coming from. It's like, yeah, you have main character energy. You're the greatest. I'm gonna follow you. I'm gonna make a manga that is basically your biography of like your experiences here in the Cullen games. We're gonna make you a manga. When they have an anime, they'll have a live action. You'll be the guy. You'll making hand over fist.
Royalties, baby.
Royalties,
He's like,
baby.
fuck yeah, bro.
And he's
You
like,
thinking
yeah, I'll
about me?
spare you for some royalties. I'll
Yeah.
spare you for some royalties, you know, that kind of stuff. And I'm like, God damn it, don't do it. You haven't seen his work. Like,
I just see Hikari as like Drewski. He's like, we can get you over at Could Have Been. You know what I'm saying? We can get you over here at Could Have Been Records right away. We can get this money.
Oh man. So I think there might be something like that. But then also with the domain, what if it's like you have two cards in front of you. Your goal is to rapidly grab a card, and whatever card result you get is like win or lose, right? There's only two options. It's a 50 straight 50-50, and Hikari fakes him out. He does the quick grab, doesn't look at it, doesn't take it off the table, but does a grab, scoots it to the edge of the table, and then creates like looks at his does like a quick like look of his hand or something like that. You know, sticks the card under his other hand, you know, sticks it under there, looks at his hand, and does like a look of dismay. And because of the because of like seeing that in ahead of time, he psychs out the other guy, and Charles grabs the wrong card and like dies because of it.
I think it would. I think you're onto something. I think it would be really cool if it was a situation to where like just like leaning back into like the Hunter x Hunter inspiration for, you know, a lot of the techniques and just overall vibe inside of Jujutsu Kaisen. It reminds me a lot of like my idea for what Restless Gambler could be reminds me a lot of like Crazy Slot from Kite inside of Hunter x Hunter, right? Because he spins the fucking slot and then whatever number it lands on, then you know what weapon you're going to get. I think it would be really cool if every time Hikari expanded his domain, I think it would, well, one, I think it would be cool if he was if he had a domain that was similar to Higuruma's and like the old school style domains where it's not like really about the sure hit technique, but it's about imposing, you know, your own elemental like rules, yeah, like on the opponent, right? So I think it would be tight if every time he expanded, it was one of however many different kinds of, you know, gambling games. You know what I mean?
You roll a dice, and it like whatever side it lands, that's the game of chance you have to participate in.
Yeah,
And it's,
either
like,
that
lethal.
or the domain just randomly chooses one through, you
Mhm.
know, Jujutsu RNG or something. You know what I mean? He expands and it's like, oh, it looks like we're playing blackjack in this domain. You know what I mean? And then another time he expands, it's like, oh, we're playing craps this time. You know what I mean? Or and then another time it's like, oh, it's roulette this time. And even Hikari doesn't know. You know what I mean?
Also,
Until he expands the domain and sees like the atmosphere that he has, because then that would just continue to play into the unpredictable nature of the ability and the unpredictable nature of probability based games.
Also, like I can't remember now. I literally just drew a blank on. I can't. I feel like it's ridiculous that I feel like I don't know this. But like when
Mm,
you are caught in someone else's domain, is your technique isn't disabled? Is it,
it
or is
is.
it? Okay,
It's
so like
suppressed, yeah.
Yeah, your
so
technique
like
is nullified
he
unless you expand your own domain or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so like he sees this, knows he doesn't have a domain, whatever Hikari is doing. He's like, I don't
Mhm.
have this. You're doing this weird pose, and like maybe he can see into the future and see that his own ability has been suppressed, and now he doesn't have a fighting chance against whatever is in
Mm.
Hikari's domain.
And there
I
could be a
mean,
situation where like old school style domains don't give you that like enemy technique nullification. I can't remember exactly how the Higuruma like fight went down off the top of my head, but like Yuji doesn't have a curse technique anyway.
Yeah,
But I remember
mhm.
one of the penalties from finishing the court case like was you don't have access to your technique anymore, but since Yuji doesn't have a technique, it just took all of his cursed energy away
yeah.
instead. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? So that was a you know effect coming out of the domain though. So I don't know what it's like actually inside of the domain for the old school style ones as far as
Yeah.
you know enemy
Oh,
curse technique nullification goes. So it
so
could be a situation where that is not an aspect of the old school style domains and
Yeah.
Charles can still use his technique inside of the domain.
so with Charles's like pseudo omniscience
Hmm.
and the last page telling us that like he understands the rules of the domain, that gives him a fighting chance against the rule imposition. So like I appreciate that, like
Mm.
even though he's like a really new sorcerer, he still has a fighting chance, and especially in a gamble where like it's all about having a fair chance,
Hmm.
even though like Hikari, the house should
The
always
house
win.
always wins, yeah.
Yeah. So like we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
Um, and like what if your chips you manifest chips and all your chips are basically cursed energy. So
Mm.
like you
Mm.
have to gamble with the amount of cursed energy, and then Hikari just has a fuck ton of cursed energy,
Yo,
and
Yeah.
that's
then
so sick
He
actually to
just
think
got
about it in that way. Our
stacks.
cursed energy is now represented by the number of chips we have going into these gambling
mhm.
games. Oh, dude, that'd be so cool. So then if you lose inside of his domain, once the
You
domain
come out, you
ends,
have
you
jack
come
shit.
out
Yeah.
without cursed energy. Yo.
That would be wild. And he could just see that like Hikari's got a mountain of chips.
Oh man, that would be
And they're
so
all sharp as
cool.
shit. Like his
Yeah.
chips are jagged looking.
Yeah.
Yo, I love
I
that.
like
Oh
it.
man.
Oh my
There's
god.
so there's actually a weird juxtaposition
Mm,
um, between the TCB and the official translation
hmm.
that kind of makes sense. So this is going to be related to where is it? There's page 16. Page 17.
Okay.
Now my vessel is already broken. Now I can only spill out of it in a turbid gush of emotion. Like Charles is very emotionally weak. He's just like I feel despair. I'm just going to make it everyone's problem. I'm having a bad day, right?
Mm.
He's that kind of person. And I also want to touch on the idea of page 4. He says, my reality has been taken over by jujutsu. I've lost my motivation as a reader and as a creator. So if we go into the TCB, page 17, and all I am is the turbid flow of emotions that spilled from it.
Yeah.
That's the main part that I wanted to get to.
Uh,
So there's a poem called The Dover Beach, and it basically talks on. It's by Matthew Arnold. It's a Victorian era poem, and it expresses a crisis of faith. And it acknowledges the diminished standing of Christianity and a rising tide of scientific discovery, and like how new research and all this stuff is changing the fundamental aspects of how his society and world functioned. And so he's comparing that aspect of like what science was to the Victorian era and like the ideals of Christianity. This new religion, this jujutsu, this sorcery has come to replace and flip over the world that science had built, and his whole way of life is gone because there are no manga outlets or editors that want, like very many editors that are publishing anything because of the culling games are happening. And then that's like a strange reversal. And so that's how the official translation ties into like Dover Beach. And then the TCB translation of 17. I'm going to read an excerpt. Sophocles long ago heard it on the Aegean, and it brought into his mind the turbid ebb and flow of human misery. We find also in the sound of thought, hearing it by this distant northern sea.
Let's go. Same dialogue.
Same dialogue, exact same dialogue. The turbid ebb and flow of human misery, and that part of the poem talks about that specifically. So Sophocles was a Greek playwright, because like the writer of the poem imagines this ancient Greek playwright Sophocles, imagining him being by the Aegean and viewing the idea of like Christianity, like that the sound of waves is the general sorrow of humanity, which moves like waves, and that and the poem basically compares the sea receding, and it's like the idea that Christianity is the well and faith of Christianity and all this stuff is drying up, and that this will be replaced with this new wave that is this new way of life of science.
Hey.
And so it's weird that like Charles believes, like I think he views himself as like the Sophocles, a creator, a playwright, a famous person. He's projecting himself into that position.
Yeah.
And then also the idea that like his way of life is drying up. Electricity, the lights are growing dim, utilities are fading away, and that this new wave will ebb and flow and wash over the remains of the coast of the world he knew.
That's so fucking cool.
I can see it for his character.
I can dig it with a shovel, brother. I love that.
Yeah. It was kind of meaty. It had to be like broken down to a couple parts, but I get the vision. Weird when it came up.
Yeah, I see where
you're going. I was like, where have I heard the turbid? Where have I heard the word turbid before?
Yeah. Like this was a new word for me for sure. I was like, hold on, wait a minute. The vocab in this is drastic as fuck. I had to look up a couple of words actually.
Yeah, I was like, man, why does that sound so familiar? And I was like, oh, it's Dover Beach. That's wild. Like, because I basically just pumped in turbid ebb and flow of human misery, and I was like, boom. Yes. Dover Beach, and I was like, I have read this before. That's fucking wild.
That's so cool, man.
What a coinky dink.
Yeah, bro. Good shit.
So yeah, there's equal parts of validity with the original TCB scans, and then also the translation from Viz. There's elements of both in there.
Yeah,
that's the power of language, baby.
Fuck yeah, it
is. A tough one, man.
I love that.
It is.
Yeah, good shit.
There's the bridge. Dover Beach, kids.
Dover Beach.
Dover Beach. Look at that. Well, all right.
On Melancholy Hill.
Do you guys have anything else for Jujutsu this week?
Just a small comments or two. I wanted to talk about just a little bit of the choreography again, and like the one panel where fucking Hikari like jumps back and does like the spring and drop kick. And remember when I was talking about like the croak music? This shit reminded me of Def Jam Vendetta. And I was thinking of like the fucking rapper fighting game, because Hikari's like got a hoodie on, he's got the Timbs, and he's like drop kicking this dude in the face with boots on. You know, it reminds me of Def Jam Vendetta. Hikari just needs a chain or something. Like,
it
was ridiculous. Yeah,
I could see him going and do his overdrive. Like, oh, the Busta Rhymes special.
Yeah. Wait, does that mean that Charles will have a moment where he's raising the pen nib like the mic stand?
Oh shit! Look at that.
And then like cursed energy, like fire, just burns around him.
Yo,
that'd be fucking funny.
Yeah, no, dude, I love Hikari's fighting style, man. It's like, especially without the technique, it's like so cool to have Gege just show characters flex in like hand-to-hand ways if they don't want to show their techniques. And like, obviously that's like one of his deepest bags is hand-to-hand choreography, and especially a character as cool as Hikari. Like, if you're gonna give him Tims, you better make him one hell of a street fighter. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, we got all of that shit. The fucking backflip springboard dodge into the drop kick is always fire.
Yeah.
Always fire.
I dig it because when he threw hands with Yuji, he went all out. He was like, I see you, I respect you, I watched you fight, let's go. And this guy's like, nah. You're not gonna step on my Tims. They're gonna step on you.
Right. And the way Charles tries to hit him with the leverage backstab with the bow staff, and Hikari just like effortlessly catches it on its trajectory and then steals off his ass right in the spine, bro.
And Hikari's like smiling, like he's having fun doing this.
Whole time I was like, oh no, you're cooked, brother. Holy moly.
He's taking his lunch money in this one.
Yeah.
Like I was trying to think what characters. I feel like Killua has done like fighting with his hands in his pocket, and like I feel
Killua
like
is definitely a fight you with his hands in his pocket type cat. Yeah.
What's your fighting style? Disrespect.
Yeah, it's very disrespectful.
Yeah.
But
about it. I mean,
ready.
For me, that page 15 line of like, I could go easy on you, but you'll fight over anything. I just need to break you because you're gonna hurt people.
Yes.
And I was like, I love that. Chef's kiss. I love it. Picasso.
Yeah. Hikari's incredible.
Yeah. I really hope that the artist thing comes true. I want him to be like, you want to make a book about me?
Yeah. Well, you should have led with that, buddy. Let's get this money.
I feel like that shit would be hilarious.
Instead of telling me to make you upset so you can try to beat me up. Yeah, get fucked, kid.
Yeah, and it gives them like a little partnership that like because now it's like everybody's waiting for Hikari versus Kashimo, and like does it become a 2v1? Like does Hikari bring this guy along when Kashimo appears or whatever, Kashimo, whatever his name is?
He needs fodder.
Yeah, like is this an extra body, or does like Hikari does Hikari care enough? Does Hikari care enough about like Buddy to protect this dude? Like, is he gonna like if it does come to that? Does he like Mr. President this guy like?
What if they do team up? What if they do team up and they're like really close, and then they confront Kashimo, and then Kashimo just kills Charles as like a way to
instantly gets it revved up.
Yeah, give Hikari more emotional investment in the Kashimo matchup. I think that would be pretty crazy.
So, adding on to that idea, what if he uses the G War Staff, stabs Hikari a bunch of times, gets to see several seconds into the future, and uses that as an early warning system against opponents that are faster than Hikari. And he'll be like, on your left, and he'll see Hikari like react to damage before it happens, and then he can just call out what's happening to him. Is like, wow, jump your legs, or like your left, your right, and then Hikari can be like, oh yeah, I can, now that I know that that's going to happen to me, I can react to that, and then that forces Kashimo to kill Charles. That'll get him heated up.
Oh man,
it'd be weird to use it as a defensive ability, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
I feel like Future Sight works way better as like a utility, like support ability when you have allies than one-on-one confrontation.
I feel like we don't often enough get like curse techniques being used like as like support. Like we get healing, but we don't get people. We get it from Megumi, but we don't often get like I'm gonna help you with my thing. Like
Megumi's ability is just raw utility, though. You know what I mean? Like it's versatility and support inherently. You know what I mean? Just inside of all of his options, so it makes sense to see it with a character like Megumi. Nobody else really has abilities that make as much sense as support utility kind of things than Megumi so far, until try and maybe a lot of characters have abilities that can be used you know, in defensive and supportive ways, and we just never thought about it before. But Charles specifically, like I can just see, I've always thought that Future Sight made more sense as like a, yo, I'm the leader telling my team how to move versus 1v1, I see your next, you know, couple seconds of movement. Like I just think it feels way better as like a team support thing than a one-on-one ability.
And I feel like Hikari being a person that broke away from the traditional Jujutsu society, and Charles being this weird, eccentric mangaka aspirant guy, they would have the ability to like subvert their expectations and use that ability in a way that would be beneficial as like an early warning system, as opposed to this is for fighting and I need to fight you. You know? He's like, wait, you've got Future Sight. So if you hit me like 20 times and you fill up this entire thing with ink, you're telling me that you could tell me what's going to happen 30 seckons before it happens?
That's huge. Yeah, that's massive.
Yeah, no.
That's massive.
Tap me up, dude. Just stab me repeatedly.
Yeah.
Give me a little stick poke. Let's
like
go.
Hikari,
Now, here's a little earbud. You tell me what's going to happen, and I'll take care of the rest, bud. I kick everyone's ass.
Okay, so it's on hit, the nib fills up with more ink. I thought it was over time after the initial hit, the longer...
I think he's going to hit him multiple
times. He needs to draw blood to get more ink.
Yeah, that makes all the sense in the world.
So I kind of want to see that kind of application. I think Hikari and Charles are just weird enough that they would be able to think of that.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. And then like I we know Hikari to be a character like you just said, like he's stronger than me when he gets going. Like when it seems like he's a character who has to get warmed up and rolling, and you know he's got to get his motor running. So I feel like if they do like become like buddies, even if it's just like on even if it's just because like you're gonna make me a lot of money one day, and then like somebody kills this dude, like that will probably piss him off because it's like you killed my guy.
Yeah, hold on, you like, fucking with the money now.
We were partners. Like I was after this shit, I was planning on making a lot of money and getting the fuck out of town, and you killed my meal ticket, bro.
Yo,
this was my golden goose. This was my minion. Only I can beat up my minion.
Type shit.
And that just instantly get Hikari on 10.
Yeah, wow.
Fucking with his money.
Yeah, we brought up a lot of really cool possibilities for not just the continuation of this fight, but like the continuation of these character arcs in general. Yeah. So like I love this conversation that we've had tonight, you guys. Was there anything else y'all had for Jujutsu this week?
I think I'm set now.
Okay. Well, that'll do it for Jujutsu 182. All right, moving into My Hero Academia, chapter 351, 2 Flash Fires. How do we feel?
Yes!
Yeah.
Feeling good.
Yeah.
There's some dope stuff.
Hell yeah, it's a great chapter, man.
Oh, man.
The writing, the art, the action, everything's firing on all cylinders.
Yes, sir.
Literal fire.
Right.
Literally.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So... Dobby has issues.
Yeah.
And there's, to put it lightly,
it's a couple.
But I really want to kind of jump to this point on like page 9 and page 10. He's like, blessed with an ideal body, ushered into a place where you could shine bright. You still depend on everyone else. The boy born with everything, but you sure don't capitalize on it. No one's willing to say it to your face, so allow me. You're a feckless, half-baked puppet. And the part that really got to me when he said that was, you'll never make a damn thing of yourself. Even after everything he's endured with Endeavor and how he hated that he couldn't measure up to what Endeavor was trying to make him.
Yeah.
Dobby still holds on to the toxicity that like Endeavor instilled in him and is still trying to force to others to be made into something.
Yeah, wow.
And I'm like, you didn't learn a damn thing except for hatred.
Right, yeah, you can feel the hatred, you can feel the bitterness, you can feel the jealousy, you know, of the Toya brother versus Todoroki brother kind of conflict inside of, because he even like makes like a tongue-in-cheek kind of comment on the very last, second to last page. You know what I mean? When Todoroki comes out with his own Flash Fire Fist, and you get at the bottom of page 14, the little sliver panel of Dobby reacting, he says, his little masterpiece. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yo, like you're mad, bitter, and jealous that Todoroki was, you know, the successful quirk marriage kid. You know what I mean? And it's like, man, it's like Dabi's doing all of this talk about how it's fuck Endeavor and like his entire philosophy is wrong and yada yada yada, but you're still, you know, bitter and jealous that Todoroki was everything Endeavor ended up wanting and you aren't. And you're showing that in like almost unconscious ways, I want to say.
Yeah, and like page 3, he's talking about turning up the firepower was all I knew, and then he's quoting his dad, I believe. Your potential surpasses my own. He said that encouraged me. So like that shit fucking stuck with him, and what made him want to keep going, even though he like despises this man and fucking wants to ruin his life. He's still holding on to that belief that like since his dad said it, like dad told me I would surpass him. So I'm gonna keep on going, and I'm not gonna stop until like it's all over, until I burn all of them down.
Yeah,
he's super determined. Numbing of his body, stripped away his limitations. He doesn't have any limits.
Yeah,
nothing's holding him back, and he's been told by his hero, his number one, that he will surpass him.
Yeah,
it's like a lot for him, a lot on his mind, and to see that like his little brother is, you know, like he's saying, you've had everything. You've had life given to you on a plate. You're not taking advantage of it, bro.
Right.
And I was tossed to the fucking side.
Forgotten about, not cared about at all.
No one looked for me.
Yeah, like holy shit.
There ain't no fucking missing child signs with my face on it.
I came back home and saw Endeavor getting right back to it with you, bro.
Yeah.
And it's like you didn't fucking think like, yo, fuck this training. What's up with my brother? You know what I'm saying? He's like all kinds of pissed at this family, bro. And the choreography is so good. And like this is something that we used to criticize a lot about like earlier My Hero Academia, is that when characters are engaged in battle with these like very flashy elemental abilities, it can be very cluttered and hard to tell what's going on, as if like Kohei didn't really know, you know, how to let the panels breathe when it came to, you know, really high octane elemental battles and whatnot. But this is very tight, very focused, very readable. And I love the page 10 jet burn uppercut to the stomach with the white background, like kind of gradienting and fading off into the screen tones along the edges of the panel. But I think it's just really cool to have the all white behind Todoroki, because not only does it just, you know, emphasize the actual moment that we're focusing in on in the focal point, but also it kind of like says to me, it's like that's just a representation of how bright these fires are burning, that like light is so bright that there's just nothing but whiteness, you know what I mean, in the background. I don't know, that's kind of how I interpreted it, and it made it feel a little bit cooler to me. But
makes me wonder if people nearby are like having a hard time like seeing and shit, like if it's actually like blinding people,
right? Because you know, like when you watch like an explosion like from a video, the explosion goes, and then like the whole kind of, you know, the whole screen in the video kind of like goes white for a second because it's that bright with like fire.
They're in the middle of that shit.
Yeah, and they're in the epicenter of that fucking energy. So it's like, from a bird's eye view, you're probably like, I have no idea what I'm looking at down there, but it's hot up here, like, and I'm in a helicopter. Holy shit!
Endeavor going off down there. It's not Endeavor.
I mean, especially since like our eyes, the curtains require light, and so having too much of a certain type of light, or like, because light colors change based fire's light color changes based off its temperature, so like having super high intensity heat is hard to look at, and then the residual heat warps the air and creates even further mirages, and like even makes it even more difficult to see. So like there's
yeah, it's real good. It's real good. The only thing that kind of like weirded me out about this chapter, and I don't remember the last time that I really thought of it, and obviously it's comic books and it's fantasy comic books and sci-fi and shit, so you have to suspend, you know, disbelief to a certain degree no matter what. But the jet burn sends this man flying multiple tens of stories into the air, into this building, and Todoroki just kind of walks out of it. And it's like, yeah, we had the explanation that his internal temperatures are counteracting the heat, you know, of Dabi's fire because of his ice quirk and whatnot. But it's like, that doesn't really explain you crashing into a fucking building at Mach 3.
I think I think what it is so like in the first like page or two. So let me see. Where is it?
It's just such drastic
Page-
damage.
Yeah, page 2, Shoto is like, he's got his hands on his chest,
Yeah.
and he's saying he's faster than me at raising his temperature. There's no hints of hesitation. He's talking about how fast Dabi is like increasing his heat, like it's so fast, and like Shoto can't get hot that fast, but he's trying. So like at this page, I initially thought that Shoto was like freezing his chest to like maybe protect himself and brace for the like fire damage, but I think he's actually like putting fire on himself, and then by the end, after he gets hit with that jet burn, I think what happens is Shoto's actually like made like a vest, sort of like Endeavor, and I think the back is probably blocking some of that damage when he hits the wall or whatever.
Yeah.
I think he's probably got like a little bit of fire back there, like blocking it, so it's not like straight back and skull to window, but he's got like a little cushion.
Yeah, a little tiny cushion. Yeah, it just enough, obviously, to make his, emergence out of this damage seem effortless. Because I'm like, man, like yeah, you're kind of like, bleeding from the nose and you got scratches all along the face, but like it just doesn't look like you just took the damage of crashing into a building at that speed.
Yeah, with fire.
Yeah, like the fire shit is like whatever, because like he's got an ice quirk and he can counteract the heat with his ice and all of that shit. It feels good, but it's the force and impact and like brain bouncing around in cranium that I'm thinking about.
I have a little bit of a theory to go with this.
Mm-hmm.
So, you guys ever heard of dry ice?
Yeah.
Dry ice does not burn, but it reaches a point where it cracks and creates a ton of force. So what if he encased himself with dry ice a little bit, like portions of his body with dry ice, so that it doesn't burn? It's not something that like instantly melts, but then because it's impacted by Dabi's heat, it eventually cracks. He redirects the force of that breaking dry ice backwards to create the impact behind him.
Oh, okay, so like the force of the dry ice breaking creates the force cushion upon impact.
Breaking his crash.
I wonder if it really works like that, though. Like controlling the expansion of the force and direction of the force seems so extra to the explanation of his abilities that we've gotten so far. I don't even know if dry ice is like a thing for Todoroki. I don't think that's ever been said before.
I just know it explodes eventually.
Right. Yeah, that's just cool to think about, but I don't know if we have anything that suggests that it could work that way. But.
Yeah, so I was like, I don't know, because he can create ice, so like I think that maybe like dry ice wouldn't be completely out of the realm of possibility.
Oh, sure.
The
part that really got to me that I was confused about his power was he says flash fire fist and he says phosphor.
Yeah.
So does that mean he's generating phosphorus out of like the combination of his elemental abilities? Because I was looking up some of the phosphorus stuff, and I'm gonna read a little bit of fire prevention and firefighting. So there's many phosphorus-containing materials used in a lot of the flame retardants for a lot of things, and it works on quite a bit. There's application of phosphorus-based fire retardant components reacts with other things. The fire material decomposes. The fire that like when it blasts that material and it like retards the fire, the material decomposes, gives off water vapor, which helps cool the fire and leaves behind a black carbon-based coating, which insulates and restricts airflow to any remaining fuel.
Oh wow!
Restricts the airflow.
Okay.
So I wonder if he's doing something like that, where he's combining ice and fire to create phosphorus. I'm assuming, because that's the only way I can imagine him creating something like that.
Unless he has some kind of technology in his costume that we're just like not
built in
aware
as
of.
well.
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
Maybe that little extra oomph based in the suit, because like, you might as well, like, you're going to the final fight. Be packed up. Have a 99 health potions and everything else. And he does that moment.
And he does have his little. I forget what they are. Are they just ointments that are on his belt, or does he have like a little pocket, like extinguisher? I think it's just ointment. But like, I wonder if those like his little belt gadgets are going to come into play at any point.
Sure, yeah, it does seem like they're getting, some detail in this page 14
Yeah.
close up with the flash fire fist. And I just want to make sure that
Mhm.
I'm like understanding the progression of this chapter properly too, right? Because Todoroki is blasting himself with his fire directly to his body to help rise his temperatures in response to Dabi's inherent ability to just rise them by thought.
Yeah, I think
Right?
so.
So
Yeah.
the whole time that, Burnin and everybody is trying to do damage control in front of Todoroki to allow him the time to cook his fire up to comparable levels to Dabi, that's when Dabi goes into the Hell Spider, which is a fucking beautiful splash page, by the way. And we could talk about that too. But then that's what he's doing that whole time. And then when Dabi attacks him with the flash fire fist, or with like jet burn or whatever and shit like that, he's using his ice powers to mitigate the damage by countering the levels of heat with levels of absence of heat. So I'm assuming,
Yeah.
but then doesn't that take away from his damage output that he's building in his own flash fire?
Or maybe he just doesn't use the ice at all. Like it's like he's charging up like a spirit bomb type of thing.
Yeah,
Like they're
yeah.
asking him, they're like, "Are you ready yet, Shoto?" And he's still in the back. He's like, "Yeah, I'm almost ready. I'm ready now." And shit. Then like he's charging this shit up for like 3 panels, and
Right.
then we see him get punched into the building with
Yeah.
his jet.
So he's
jet.
not lowering his temperatures to counter Dabi's heat when he takes damage, because that would be taking away from the damage output that he's been cooking in the background, right? Or maybe he does, let the damage building fall off so that he can protect himself, and then he picks it back up after the damage is dealt and just continues to let it cook, but is still mitigating as best as he can in the meantime. But I'm just like very confused kind of
I
as
think
to like what the fire and heat and temperatures and ice powers are all doing at the same time.
Do you guys think that the reason that he's using this power to like currently cook up a heat, he's also doing his ice to like protect his body so he doesn't have to, incinerate his own flesh,
Right.
char himself through proximity like Dabi is, and that's why it's taking longer. Is that
Yeah.
he's doing the safe, steady
Yeah.
route
Mhm.
while maintaining this intensity that he's holding within his hands.
Sure.
Yeah, and I definitely think his ice like part is going to be a major factor because he's not. I don't think he has 2 quirks, so he's not going to go into a straight firefight with his brother whose fire is hotter than their father's. Like
Yeah.
the ice is definitely coming into play at some point if it hasn't already.
Yeah, it's a
Whether it's
crazy
just
strategy that he would want to try to use his heat power to try to match Dabi's heat when
Yeah.
Dabi is 100% heat and clearly outranks him in that way. You
Maybe
think
it's
that
like
he
an
would
ego
want to
thing.
go a more ice-related strategy. It could be an ego thing. Maybe it's just like, the device used for, the overall message of their beef. You know what I mean? It's like beat fire with fire, like kind of thing, and it's maybe like a thematic thing more than like a practical strategy thing. You know what I mean? So who knows? But
I wonder if he's basically, because he's got the utility belt, so he has access to chemicals. Is he like releasing those chemicals and then freezing them along with it while cooking up this heat so that he has something that will melt, have all those chemicals in it, and react to the heat to create like an extinguishing foam?
Yeah, like some sort of explosive, maybe to
Because I
fucking.
was wondering where the phosphorus comes from. Like he has to have
Yeah.
some sort of chemicals on hand to make that a thing. I don't know enough about fire extinguishers, straight up.
yeah, me
To
neither.
figure that stuff out. And
Whoops.
but the thing is, I feel like he has to use some aspect of his ice abilities because Todoroki is different from his father and his brother in the fact that he will eventually accept all of himself, accept himself in its entirety, weaknesses and all, strengths and all. And like self-acceptance is how he becomes better than both his brother and his father, regardless of magnitude or power scaling.
Mm.
Because Endeavor couldn't accept his own faults and weaknesses. Dabi couldn't accept that his ability wasn't safe to hone, or that he could just stop being whatever his dad wanted him to be. He couldn't accept those parts of himself. He couldn't accept himself. So I think Todoroki to truly defeat him, on a grand scheme of things, has to use everything.
Yeah.
That was well said. I like that.
Do you think that Shoto will be able to save his brother, or if Dabi really will die burning himself out?
I think
at
the
this
latter,
point,
personally.
He has to die.
Yeah.
I think he has to die.
Yeah.
Because...
I think he burns away.
And
I can just see the art in the scene, like, already.
He's literally charcoal briquette. Like, right now. He is a charcoal briquette with, like, a little bit of nose.
What if it is a dry ice scenario where he's like trying his hardest to like burn? He's burning everything, and you said dry ice doesn't burn. What if he's like up on Shoto, like burning and with everything, and he burns out, and Shoto's just like encased himself in dry ice, and he's just like looking at his brother like burn away?
Yo,
it's really dangerous.
That's
because,
crazy to think about.
Like, it's dangerous to touch. It will give you like massive frostbite, like a chemical frostbite.
Dry ice igloo.
But then also it explodes. So what if his brother does like a hoist by his own petard thing, tries to destroy him, implies intense ice. There's the layer of dry ice. There's a layer of normal ice to like shield him from his own ice, and then it explodes outward because Dabi only knows how to charge forward, only knows how to bash down the gates,
only knows how to press W.
Only knows how to press W, and he basically sets up a temperature-based claymore mine out of ice, and it just cuts through him.
Yo.
Or like, something like that.
Terrifying thing.
These are pretty wild situations. If dry ice is a thing, then like I definitely can see it coming to play in this fight. I said earlier, I don't know how that works for Todoroki, given the explanation of his powers that we've gotten so far. But at the end of the day, I'm not like an ice expert or a dry ice expert or a fire expert.
I'm not even a fire expert, but I got plenty of ideas.
Right, yeah. But this is really cool to think about. No cap.
I can see him somehow like trapping his brother in like a tomb of dry ice, and like Dabi being like, this ice shit ain't gonna keep me locked up in here for long, and he's like trying to burn it and it doesn't burn, and then like it eventually explodes or something.
Yeah, I mean, if he's entirely encased and there's just no oxygen, then he's not going to be able to get fire no matter what.
Yeah.
So.
I
do know that about fire.
I think that might be the kind of like coup de grace, but like he's gonna burn up his oxygen and basically suffocate himself.
Yo.
And then once he's down, his body is like, well, he's not conscious, and he's not his will is no longer there to like drive himself forward, and his body is just like, well, we tried to take him to the hospital, but his body literally gave out on the way there. It couldn't. He burnt himself out. Like
he's not the redeemable type. Like you're not gonna take him to jail and like talk him out of it and reform him.
He wouldn't accept it if you gave it to him anyway.
Yeah, he would kill himself or something.
The only thing that's crazy about this situation is that we've seen Shoto so many times just have this like crazy outburst of ice energy that makes these huge fucking icebergs like like seemingly instantly, and it's like, why are we not seeing any of that? I feel like that would just one shot the situation. Like we've literally seen him do that so many times where he's just like boom, and then the next panel is a giant fucking ice palace or an iceberg or some shit. It's
Madison
like
Square Garden, ice
type shit. You know what I mean? I'm pretty sure he did that at the start of this fight, and we just like panned away and like went to a different perspective instead of seeing the aftermath of it or how Dabi dodged it or whatever. I feel like the start of this fight was a move like that.
I feel like he's holding it for some reason.
Yeah,
he might be holding it in reserve as a move, and also he might be like, well, I had my initial ice burst, but Dabi's here. He's raising the surrounding area temperature to a drastic degree. There's almost no moisture for me to freeze.
Yeah.
Ooh. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he just can't use his ice. He's nerfed.
Yeah, I like that. That's tight.
And then he's like, using his like utility belt to supplement the moisture that he requires.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I want to say his utility belt is just filled with like ointments and shit or something, but I want there to be something else. But I definitely feel like the utility belt is going to be a thing because they've made that like a point of discussion like a few times. Like when he was with the kids and they were like calling him Five Weenie Man, he's like, these are like my little gadgets or whatever. And then I think there
Yeah.
was another time where somebody said something about like his canisters. Like, I feel like that's got to play in at some point.
I
Whether it's
forgot
like,
about those moments, honestly. And to be honest,
yeah,
they'd like put a lot of emphasis on like equipment, you know, from
yeah.
Hatsume's department in
Mhm.
general. You know what I mean? Like just like across the
I
board in
wanted
My
to
Hero
shine.
Academia. So like you have that coupled with the fact that they've specifically dedicated dialogue to Todoroki's utility belt specifically. So it's like, yeah, that has to eventually be a thing.
Even if it's just something like spraying something in Dobby's eyes for a fucking moment, like
Pocket
something's got to
sand.
come out of it. Yeah, or fucking just submitting the can or something. You know, just something. I don't know.
Yeah. That's funny.
Its utility belt, it contains water, pain medication, disinfectants, a first aid kit, effectively, according to the My Hero fandom.
And that's probably stuff he takes like on the regular. But like you said, they're going into final boss
Yeah,
territory.
so
So
he's
you
gonna
know,
have extra
he's yeah.
accoutrement.
He's
Yeah.
bringing his 99 potions. He's bringing his like he
Couple
you know
elixirs,
Downs,
couple
full
Phoenix
yeah,
downs. Yeah.
yeah.
Funny.
He's bringing his fucking like sticky web stuff or whatever, you know.
It
Yeah.
ain't game over till I say it's game over, man.
I'm screaming.
Yeah, he's bringing the stuff.
Oh yeah. Yeah, great chapter overall, man. Horikoshi always just snaps on the writing of these like most tragic characters like Shigaraki and Dabi, and just an incredible writer overall whenever it's a character focused situation. And that's what we have here with equal parts action and everything, like I said earlier, is just firing on all cylinders. No pun intended, or maybe it is. I don't know.
Maybe.
But that's all I have for My Hero.
The only thing I wanted to touch on were the 3 sidekicks
Oh, sure.
that
Yeah,
helped
yeah.
out. There was what was it? Onima. His name was Keto, and then of course
Burnin.
So I did a little bit of research on their abilities. We don't know too much about Onima, but like he seems like he's just kind of like taking the thing. He's literally got hands on the fire, so he seems like heat resistant. We know that Burnin's hair is literally made out of fire, so she can kind of manipulate fire to a degree.
Mm-hmm. It looks like she's like
this...
tangling her hair in with the incoming fire from the Hell Spider on page 6. It looks like she's like doing some mitigation in the form of like making Dobby's heat run into her fire hair.
Yeah, like she's making a catcher's mitt out of her hair.
There we go. You're so much better at that than me. Jesus Christ.
And then let's see, Keto, I looked up. He said that he can manipulate the movement of things caught that pass through their bandages, which includes incorporeal things like air, so like fire, or living things. So just not like things that, like, he can't do it to rocks, but he can do it to fire. So I like that he's just waving his little tendril wrappings as much as he can. He's like, wax on, wax off. Fire, dissipate a different direction.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of thing. And I'm just like, yeah, those guys.
Yes.
Good
Love
job.
them.
One thing I wanted to talk about before we go. Well, one's important. The other one's I guess it's important. It's important to me. But the other thing is kind of stupid. But
What is it?
the first thing is the stupid thing was just the way his like the fires on his chest now. He looks like a Endeavor now. Like I really like since the series is like.
That's some pretty full circle shit. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Like I want this man to get a new costume, and I'm like, is he gonna have like a fire? Like, is he gonna do like the Endeavor suit thing, or is he gonna
seen
get
a
like
new costume for him? Like when everybody flexed their shit, he had
he's
a
just
more
wearing his school
flamboyant.
outfit.
Yeah, but I remember there being like
initially he had like a half ice thing, and he had like a red eye. It was like a cyborg. It was goofy as hell.
Oh, super early, yeah.
Yeah, and then he went to just like wearing the school uniform with like gadgets and It's still not like a costume. It's not a hero costume.
Yeah, I remember this one where it's like white shirt, beige pants, white boots, and then like he's frozen on like the entire left side. Like if you Google like Todoroki costume, So like we've seen that though, and like how long did he have that? Was that just like his winter outfit or some shit?
That was literally like his first character outfit, his first like
when
costume.
the first time the first time the story focused on costume specifically, and then everyone came out with their new drip. Yeah, this red eye. With the fucking,
I don't think
like,
he ever actually wore it in the field or during any training or anything. It was just like, this is my costume. And then like next time we saw him doing something, he was in his like gym suit.
Yeah, so they need to stop fucking with my boy. They got him fucked up a little bit, honestly.
I want him to get like a fire and ice type of like outfit type of thing going on. But like since it's the end of the story, are we gonna see people get new costumes and like an after after the story type of thing?
Yeah, I'm sure we'll get one final spread of like this is this really was My Hero Academia, and then everybody's standing there with their like end of series drip.
They're looking hard. The other thing. Oh, you had something, Bella?
I was just thinking, what if Todoroki designs an outfit that is vaguely reminiscent of Dabi?
Oh shit!
As his final outfit, like he's like, I'm not my dad, but I am better than my brother, and I'm what my brother should have been.
Yeah, like a fucking like long like jacket or something, but it's not like dark and broody.
Yeah.
Something, yeah.
Because I'm thinking
like Stitches and stuff, and I'm like, I don't think he's going with like anything.
Not in the same way.
Not Stitches. Yeah.
But it would be kind of cool if he did like a big stitch down the back, so he could do like the half cold, half hot, black white type thing, and have like one stitch down the middle as kind of a throwback to being like, like could have been better, man. Like
half trench coat. One side's is separated by a stitch. One side's hot. One side's cold.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing I was going to say is this conversation on page 13. Shoto is talking to Endeavor, and they're talking about like we got to consider what teams we're on, and Endeavor's like, well, I got to be there to help stop Dabi, but Shoto's like, no, I got this. So like I saw some people were like, where's Endeavor? I don't think Dabi's ever going to see Endeavor again. I don't think Endeavor's coming.
Well, I mean, he's fighting All for One, like, however far away, ain't he? Yeah.
And that's what Shoto says, because he's like, you need to be taking care of All for One. And he's like, out of the remaining heroes, you're the only one with any hope of opposing him. Just as Midoriya has to face Shigaraki, I've got just the right power set to go up against Toya. More than that, it's what I want. So I think Endeavor he's talked Endeavor into the point where he's like, okay, son, I'll let you be the one to take this. Yeah. So I don't think Dabi's ever going to see Endeavor again.
It makes sense because it seems like the old guard is going to have to deal with the old guard, and the new generation is going to have to fight the new generation. Mm-hmm. So like Shigaraki, Deku, Todoroki, Toya, it's like it makes sense.
Endeavor All for One, yeah.
And then I can like see Dabi like if he is like burning out and dying, like I can see him going like, damn, I wish I could have at least seen like my dad's face as like I burn away. Yeah. But like he never sees him again.
It's crazy because like I can see All for One just whooping Endeavor too, and it's like how would because it's like Endeavor's not going to beat All for One with enough time to come watch Todoroki beat Dabi. So I think you're like totally right about that, Yato.
Because it makes sense in that sense that, like, Endeavor will never beat All Might.
Yeah.
And Dabi is like, I wanted him to look at me. You both were really toxic in your attempts to, like, correct the thing that you couldn't stand, and therefore you will never achieve those things.
Yeah. Your dad will never look at you again, brother.
Exactly.
Damn. It's major.
He won't even be able to recognize you after this fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
Just a human-shaped charcoal smudge at the end of it.
No.
Yeah, what if he really is just like a fucking stain on the ground? Like he isn't even a person anymore. Like they're picking up like dust and shit, bones.
Oh no.
Dude, yeah, what if he's just a hot smear on the ground?
That'd be heavy. It'd be pretty.
I feel like it could be though.
That'd
like,
be intense, man. I
Horikoshi
can't put
shows
anything
some
like
horrifying
that.
shit.
Yeah,
Sometimes.
yeah. I was just gonna say, like, you can't put it past an artist like Horikoshi. Like, he leans into horror pretty often, especially with characters like Shigaraki and Dabi. So he's definitely not one to skimp on imagery like that, especially, you know, for major moments and character points like this confrontation. So I could see it.
I can see like Burning and them being like some whatever happens, like maybe Todoroki's blinded by like the heat and the light and whatever, and then like when it all dies down, Shoto still like can't see, but like everyone else around can see that Dabi's like a smudge in it, like, well, you don't want to see this, but he's like, no, I have to or something, and he like has to see.
Do you think that Dabi might give Shoto another scar?
Oh damn!
Like a constant reminder. He's like, I might not physically exist after this, but you will never forget me.
Like a fucking big fist burning
What if he gets? What if he gets an opposite tattoo and he looks like a burnt up panda?
He's just fucking William Vengeance now. Like, holy
it's
shit!
a symmetrical Zuko. You know?
I could see it being something like, oh, you think you got this flash fire shit? You don't even know what kind of heat, you know, that technique can really create. And maybe he adds his own heat to, you know, Todoroki's chest X flash fire heat and just burns an X into his chest like Luffy.
Oh, what if it's just his fingertips into his chest, like 5 points of contact right here?
That'd be wild.
And then he can like feel it, like, you know, people be like, I can feel it in my bones when it rains and shit. Like, he's just every now and then when he activates like his heat quirk, he can like feel where he got scorched by his brother or something.
Oh man, that'd be crazy.
It's heavy because like there was this one line that really got to me where he was like, page 8. While you are holed up with UA with all those scared civilians, son of Endeavor, brother of Dabi, Calamity Incarnate concentrated into a boy-sized package.
The poetry is always so gas.
I
The vocabulary
love the
and
poetry
shit.
of Dabi.
Like, yeah.
And then it made me think, like, whoa, was Dabi's point to like not just make Endeavor look bad, but to also have everyone be afraid of like Shoto? In addition, like, if the father is bad, if the brother is bad, is the whole family awful?
Yeah, he wants to drag their name.
Like, the idea of like dragging everything that Endeavor's worked for, which includes the family, into the mud, and like ruin the whole family's image as like a all-consuming fuck you to Endeavor. I was like, I could see that.
I see it.
Hell yeah. Dabi steals off this man too on page 8.
Yeah. That's something I wasn't expecting. Like, for Dabi to be like an actual like fighter. Like, I feel like everything we see so far is him like using fire, but like he's actually like punching this kid in the face.
Yeah.
I mean, he teed.
He teed his shit, bro. That was crazy. I love that page. I was like, damn. And I love how in this chapter, like, there's a lot of over the panel, you know, or I mean, over the panel, over the gutter, you know, coming from outside of the shot illustration to like convey movement, right? Because like you have page 7 where Dabi fucking, you know, slits behind Todoroki and whatnot, and you have that like tendril of fire from the trail leading out of the page over the gutters, and then you get that again in the jet burn. You know, when you turn into page 11, it's coming from outside the gutter as well to go into the building and shit. Kohei's like Kohei's paneling when it comes to shit like this is always like so cool.
I mean, if you go to the next 2 pages, 12 and 13, he does you one better. You know, you were talking about how flashbacks tend to have black gutters, but also, if you look at the top, they have the black and white gutters, and then it represents Todoroki, you know.
Are you talking
half
about
one, half right?
Page 12?
Page 12 and 13, yeah. Where it's, you know, the top of the panel, it's supposed to be half and half, right? But then as it gets lower to the bottom, they mix. And the panel turns into a gray, not black, not white.
Oh,
and then the next page, he does the Flash Fire Fist Phosphor, which is a mix of his powers.
Yeah.
So I love that, like, he does the conventional black gutter for like flashback, but also combines the colors and keeps them from like being
one or the other
because he's a fusion of his powers.
Yeah, that's tight. I never really thought of it like that. Like we've seen like, gutter gradients from black to white, like whenever you're going into or coming out of flashbacks in other manga before. But like just thinking of the idea that Kohei would use that in this situation to better represent symbolically the dynamic of Todoroki and his, quirk situation is like really cool to think about. I don't know if I said that right, but yeah.
I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Yeah. Cool shit, dude. Holy fuck.
Ah, man.
Y'all got anything else for Hero?
I think I'm fried.
Page 8, when he cocks him in the face.
Yeah.
It's on his burn side. That's it. That's all I got.
Yeah, we know that smarts. All right. Well, I think that'll do it for My Hero Academia 351. Good shit, gentlemen. All right, moving into the final segment of the night, the Piece de l'Existence, One Piece Wa, chapter 1047, The Sky Over the Capital. Beautiful color spread.
Love it.
I love the shadow details in the coloring in the negative space on Nami and a little bit of Luffy and mostly Robin. I just think that's like, and Jinbei too. Actually Chopper too. Pretty much it's washing over this entire thing. That's such a cool lighting effect in the coloring.
Very cool. And there's no trees in the actual page,
right,
but these are like
out
the
of the
trees.
shot, like right out of the shot, like behind the motherfucker who took the picture.
Yeah.
there's Chopper falling off the tree.
Yeah, we see one branch. There we go.
Yeah.
That's it. And it's like, that's not like, I just love it.
Yeah,
like,
to get that effect without any like visible leaves or anything is like really fucking cool. I was like, okay, Oda.
The implication is beautiful.
Yeah.
And like, I love that sort of visual storytelling. And it's great because it mutes the colors that are already on display to make Momo in dragon form in the sea and the sky behind him pop that much more.
Yes.
And I'm just like, visually satisfying.
Yeah. I just noticed Frankie on Momo's back grabbing his fire mane.
Yeah, I was thinking like, how is he doing it? I don't remember. Is that like a thing?
That's
is
tight.
His fire,
no.
solid?
I mean, like maybe the fire that goes down his back is literally like a physical, like hair-like extension that just glows and has the color of fire.
Maybe
but
it's
not
the same
like
as,
actually fire, and it's really just hair or some shit. I don't fucking know.
Maybe
whether it's like the fire cloud and it's an extension.
Oh yeah, because you could totally just grab those. Yeah.
Because like it.
Because that's how he flies and shit. He makes the fire clouds and then steps on them and shit. Yeah.
Yeah. Plus, like Momo could be like, "Oh, you're my friend. I want it to be tangible to you."
Sure. Yeah. Never know. It could be something like that too.
Yeah.
Sanji serving up these glizzies, yo.
Hell
fucking
fat
3, 4, 5, 6
thickies.
Surprisingly, Luffy's not being the glizzy gobbler today.
Yeah. No, that's Usopp. He's the Shaboing Boing sheriff this episode.
He's going in with no hands.
No, not no hands. Oh man. At least these glizzies got condiments, man. Like the glizzy memes and quote retweets that I've been seeing on Twitter, they're always just a giant fucking hot dog in a bun with no moisture whatsoever.
Just a dry ass hot dog.
Yeah. No bev, no sauce. Yeah.
No
like,
bev in sight. Yeah.
Just like holy shit.
Seasoning.
You're trying to kill yourself.
It's crazy to me because like I used to work at a place called the Dog House. It literally like just served burgers and hot dogs, and I was like, oh yeah, no, like Chicago style hot dogs. You add like you cut the hot dog down half, you put like a little pickle spear on top of that, then you do a little drizzle of cheese and like sprinkle some stuff on top of that, boom, like poppy seeds or something like that. And people are like, this is amazing, and I'm like, it took almost no effort.
Right? Yeah. And I'm just now noticing too, this is a double-decker shaboing boing that Usopp is taking to the face, no hands. Yeah, does he only have one glizzy in mouth? I'm pretty sure.
I hope it's just one.
He's eating one of the bottom ones.
Nah.
Of the 3 steps.
Oh yeah,
I
okay.
I think he's like sucking it out of his hand.
Okay, whatever. All right, sucking it out of the hand. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought maybe he had the double decker end in mouth. That would have been insane.
Double decker dive bomb. He's just
no hands.
No hands.
Knows he's got a big mouth.
Yeah,
bro.
That's fucking hilarious.
All right.
Are we ready to move into the chapter?
Project Glizzy.
Project Glizzy.
I feel nice and loosed up, you know?
Yeah, for sure. But this chapter was great, man. I love the choreography and just the progression of this Kaido versus Luffy fight as we focus on it throughout the chapter. Like him grabbing the lightning bolt and throwing it was obviously very cool. We talked about that last chapter with the cliffhanger. Makes perfect sense that a rubber hand can grab a lightning bolt, but even outside of that suspension of disbelief, we have to suspend even more because he's literally using like a Toon Force, like small scale reality warping style ability. So it makes even more sense that he can grab the lightning in this way. And the way that he jumps onto it and does like a fucking, stripper pole move like on it or whatever. I don't know what other way to say it, but the fucking whoop-de-whoop around the fucking lightning bolt was so fucking sick.
Yeah, that was fire.
Yeah, the way that fucking Kaido bashes him with the Bagua right after that, though, and he like turns the landing zone into rubber so that he like, into the ground and shit, pops back up, loads up another Bagua as he like makes the Popeye forearms and coats him with hockey. Boom! Destroyer of Death. I was like, oh my god. But
so like
Luffy ate that shit and grabbed him by the chest. I was like, yo. Anyway.
Dude, that would have hurt. Like I'm looking at that and it made me cringe because I was like, if someone grabbed me by my titty and just like had that kind of grip on me, I would be crying.
Yeah, like I'd grab me by the scruff of my boobs and shit. Like, hold on, wait a minute. There ain't no skin here. I'm like 1% body fat. This is all like meat and dirt, fam. Like,
imagine how fast he's flying too while holding that grip.
It
just get suspended by that. I was like, I don't want to be Cirque du Soleil over here, just like.
This page did catch me off guard though, because like Kaido is like hitting him downward, but Luffy flies up. And I'm like, how does that work? Unless I'm tripping, but I think what it comes down to is like, in baseball, sometimes you hit like the ball and the ball flies out like behind the
sure.
foul. That's the word. Yeah. So it's like, is this like a foul ball type of situation?
I think he was already coming up from using the cushion of the trampoline. Yeah, to cushion the hit of or to cushion the fall of the last hit. He turned the ground into rubber and then popped himself back up. So there's momentum from that. Then Kaido hits him. He might have hit him like directly in the forehead, which would then make his feet fly forward and do like
it makes sense.
A continuous momentum like backflip motion.
And that's goofy with this whole tune thing going on.
Yeah, that exactly.
Absolutely happens because if you hit one end of the point of contact, it'll keep going. Because like there was one time I jumped off the back of like a speeding pickup truck. I landed on my feet and the momentum was going fast and it made me do a front flip, landed on my feet again, and then fell on my ass backwards.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, I nailed it, but I should have died.
Yeah. Weird shit like that be happening. You know what I mean? When like momentum and inertia and shit is involved. And I think
if you get enough speed too, because like Luffy's going fast, Kaido's going fast. Like
like he
one end and you just spin.
Yeah, he puts him. He puts his arms up. And coats him with hockey to try to block the attack. So I think while his momentum was already going upwards, Kaido just hit him in the top half of his body,
and then he
made the bottom half like replace the momentum and the trajectory, and like kind of like shift his weight towards the feet, which will continue since the feet are now swinging upward. His momentum can continue upward.
So it's like a foul ball because of like the angle he gets hit on.
It's really hard to audibly explain the situation, but I hope that that made sense to anyone who is in our same camp of thinking.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, this shit's wild though, man. And like, you got the back over to the flower capital and shit. Everyone's like, send off the lanterns, you know, to the deceased and whatnot. And everyone just like keeps talking about how they're so glad that they're able to have this night. I hope I get to live another year so that we can at least just have this night, just readdressing the fact that their lives are fucking terrible 364 days out of the year. And this is their one time where nothing is expected of them. They get to chill, they get to party, and they're like resigned to go back to their shitty day-to-day fates. And it just like reiterates the macabre, like dark, you know, like undertones of the arc inside of how these people are oppressed by Kaido. Because it's like easy to forget, I want to say, amidst the chaos inside of Onigashima.
Yeah. I mean, it's that classic, like, One Piece doesn't have political themes or anything. It's a kid's series, and it's like, page 13. Yeah, they're smiling, but they're literally saying, and tomorrow will be worked like slaves again.
Yeah.
Hey! And it's like, yeah, no.
Shit.
Like, kids' stories can be dark, right?
Even
like,
if they look like Disney.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Pokemon movie made us cry as children, okay? It was tragic.
Yeah.
Like, kids' movies can do that. Iron Giant, right? Like, it can teach you about death, you know? Like, a kid's cartoon can still teach you about power inequality and the abuse of power by people against other people.
Yeah.
Like,
People just want to sound cool, man. Like you've seen enough stuff to know, like, you know, if you're in these conversations to talk about One Piece, like if you were someone who knows what One Piece is and you've seen other anime and you say that like it's too cartoony, like you know that there's probably something deeper than that. You know, you know enough
it's
to
never
know that
that
all
simple.
anime. You know enough to know that all anime isn't like Pikachu and Dragon Ball. Because like if you talk to somebody who doesn't watch anime, you're like, you should check this out. They're gonna think Pikachu. They're gonna think Goku. They're gonna be like, nah, I'm not watching that shit. It's kid shit. But like if you were in a setting where you could have this conversation and the thought of like One Piece being like too childish comes up in your mind, you should just think about it for a second.
Yeah.
Like
we have it over in the West, so like it really shouldn't be that confusing for you. It's like we got Ren and Stimpy's, we got Adventure Times, we got, you know, like all type of shit that has like really deep philosophical and just like mature themes that are baked into that, you know, cartoony aesthetic, you know what I mean? Like there's like, even if you're new to anime, like you've seen this in Western
just the
media.
Cartoon.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't. Sorry. Yeah, I was just gonna say you don't got, you know, 30 million or however many 100 million, you know, adult motherfuckers like us reading, you know, Hello My Little Pony. It's not like a cartoon.
Yeah.
It's not a kids show. I mean, it's in a magazine targeted for kids, but like
their idea of what's suitable for kids is wildly different than our idea of what's suitable for kids, where Western media seems a lot more hand-holdy and a lot more assuming of the intelligence of its audience than over in the East, which, like, you know, treats its audience with a lot more respect intellectually.
I think it's a little demeaning how media in the West views children, and like it's almost as if they don't expect them to grow up.
Right.
You know, it's like
this media has to keep their innocence intact entirely, no matter what. And it's like,
like they're gonna go to public school. They'll be fine. They have the internet. Like it's not gonna last.
It's like, y'all ain't my parents, man. Just like make the show and do a good job. Make it cool. Like, what the fuck?
That's how why I like Gravity Falls, because it hits a good place between kids show and also like dark, scary, and like heartfelt.
Yeah.
So. Crazy thing that you mentioned that, no spoilers, because I actually literally found out that was on Hulu and started it today. Before we started recording today. Before we started recording, I watched episode 1.
Nice.
It's one of my favorite Western comics. You'll love it. The part that I thought was really interesting, because like talking on like the touching of like death and stuff, there's a moment like, so I love that they're sending up these like lanterns up to the sky as like wishes for the dear departed, and then, you know, the Nine Red Scabbard army and all the people that are fighting under Luffy, they're just like, you know what? If Kaido loses, this island falls and we all die. But if we lose, if Kaido wins, we all die anyway. We have accepted our death. We are people we are the Walking Dead.
Yo.
And so I like the idea that like these lanterns are going up and like giving them moments of light and well wishes, and those well wishes are going to these samurai as well, as they are people that have accepted their own death and view themselves as dead.
That's
Ooh,
beautiful.
wow, that was
Within
fucking
like
cool.
the kind of samurai style of living.
Yeah, I like that a lot. That was
That's
well
beautiful.
said and really cool to
Yeah.
think about.
I had
Thank
some
you.
different thoughts about the lanterns, but I'll let you keep going. I'll talk about it later.
Yeah,
No
yeah, yeah.
worries. Actually, hit me with your lantern take. I'm gonna follow back up onto like the idea of like death within the samurai.
Well,
Ooh, okay.
my lantern thing is more of a thought for closer to the end of the
Okay,
chapter.
no
So I'm
worries,
cool.
no worries.
Oh, sure,
So,
sure.
one of the things I remember, it's a bit of a trope, but I don't know if this was touched in the series before. If you do, let me know. If you do know, let us know in the comments. Please, thank you. My memory's a sieve. It's got a lot of cool ideas, but I don't hold stuff very well. Um, the man who accepts death will live. The man who avoids death will die. And that was something that was like, that kind of like in my mind rises up from like the various dregs inside my brain
Mhm.
when I think about like samurai duels to the death and like being entering mortal combat and fighting for your life. You have to accept. I think it was death to us do us part. That blind samurai Mamoru, he was
Ah,
saying
yeah.
he's like, no, you have to accept that you've already died to move forward
Mhm.
because you will not hold on to hesitation, you will not hold on to fear, and your blade will swing swift, steady. But if you hold on to life, if you hold on to fear, it'll be like running through water. It will slow your blade, and then you will definitely die.
Yes, that fucking
And so I,
series is so good. Read Until Death Do Us Part if you haven't already. It's
I
like
feel like
manga. It's like manga Daredevil.
I feel like
yes,
I've heard of it or seen
100%.
it or something.
Yeah,
We did
it's
it.
Eastern Daredevil for sure. We did it in the book
We did
club
it.
on
We
Patreon.
covered it for book club. Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay, that's where I heard of it from. Okay,
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. It's such a good one. But I
Yeah,
always think
banger.
about that kind of idea when the samurai are like, "We are prepared to die," and I'm like, "All right, I respect that." Like,
Yeah, there's always so much
because
poetry in samurai deaths in manga, just in general. So
it has.
shit
I
gets deep.
think that's
Yeah,
part of the appeal.
yeah,
Yeah.
Um,
yeah, for sure, for sure.
and then it's tricky because there's also the idea that I always like get annoyed with sometimes. There's characters that like, oh god, I think it came up again in a series called Earthchild recently in one of the more recent chapters.
I'm
They're
behind
like,
on Earthchild right
it's
now,
like
so try
I
to
would
keep the
die.
spoilers to a minimum if
Yeah,
possible.
but like this happens into like the idea for things like people will say this stuff on like Twitter or Facebook or stuff, and they'll say like I would die for my kids, or for like a better life for my kids, and I'm like, cool, that's easy. Dying's easy. I can die from like slipping in the tub, but like, would you live for your kids?
Ooh,
Like, would you stop drinking for your kids? Would you actually do the hard part that is
Yeah.
living life
yeah,
for your kids, as
wow.
opposed to I would die for my kids, I would die for my country? Would you live for your country? Would
Yeah.
you improve your
That's
country?
definitely a
You
better
know,
question.
Yeah.
I have, it irritates the shit out of me. I was like, I would die for my rights, and I'm like, would you live for everyone's rights? Like, come
Yeah.
on,
Hmm.
like,
Hmm.
it's easy to die, it's hard to live. Choose the struggle that has more meaning. It's different in the context of like these samurai who are like, we have accepted death. But for them, I feel like it's more of a matter of grace than a matter of obstinance.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, man, I love that.
Um,
That was really cool.
Yeah, I felt that for real.
I'm sick of
Like
this Orochi motherfucker though.
he's
Like, I turn this
he's
fucking page
afraid of
back
death.
into the treasure repository and the fucking nail falls out, and I'm just like, oh my god.
yeah, so like I don't even remember what's really going. I know Rizo was like having like a death battle, stare down with the one guy. They were like setting each other on
Fukurokuju.
fire.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the long head motherfucker, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
No.
the ninja captain.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the big
But
old
like,
gourd of monk.
what's the deal with this nail? Like, what?
Sea
Sure,
stone.
so he already shot him with a sea prism stone nail or some shit, like
Mhm.
when she first revealed herself to Orochi. Because he was like, ooh, Komurasaki, yeah, I'm about to get these buns. And then she was like, no, you know, like really, and yeah, shot him with the fucking.
This is way long ago.
No, this was like, I don't know,
3 chapters?
not too.
Okay.
It wasn't too long ago, right? Because like it was the chapter where, or maybe the chapter before, we got that that one like really beautifully drawn Hiyori panel while she's giving her like, you know, diatribe, soliloquy, like monologue to
How could I
Orochi.
smile at you?
Yeah, how can I smile at you? Shit. Yeah, it was like right before that because that like triggered the scene because up until the point where Hiyori activated and shot him with the sea prism stone nail, he was like, "You're Komurasaki, and I'm about to get the cheeks," and then she was like, "Nah, pow," and then monologue, and then Raizo pulls or not Raizo, but Kanjuro pulls up in his flame form and was like, "What are you doing?" And he was like, "Kill this bitch," and he was like, "Nah," and then like hugged him with the fire and set him on fire. And then now the fucking vibration of the water stream that Raizo and Jinbei created to douse the palace with water, I think is the vibration, or maybe Luffy fighting Kaido and a big clash is the vibration. Either way, the vibration from the chaos wiggled the nail out, and now he's going back into Hydra form. But he is still on fire, which is cool.
Yeah. I think it's interesting because Kanjuro adored Orochi, and then also like was willing to die in like this Pyrrhic victory, kind of Pyrrhic loss, like literally sets himself ablaze, turns himself into a vengeful spirit, is sent out to do the thing, fails. And it's like, you know, if like the idea that you send out a curse, and if it fails to reach its target, it returns back to you, and that is the danger of setting curses upon other people. And so it returns back to Orochi, who has regenerative abilities, and now he's caught in this like perpetually burning fire punch man situation where he is in agony in a hell of his own creation. His own spite and using of other people has backfired on him.
The chickens always come home to roost.
And that chicken's a bitch.
That's gotta suck, man. Ouch.
And I have zero sympathy for him.
Oh yeah, it's fuck this man. From top to bottom. Yeah, burn for the rest of the arc. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, dude's scumbag. Get him out of here.
Yeah. I still expect him to kind of get buried, smothered in the because like they iced the bombs, but those bombs are still there. So part of me wonders if like when Onigashima collapses, will he be buried with those bombs in an attempt to like wriggle free from it all, end up melting the ice casings and blow himself up?
Oh wow, that would be funny.
And he's already like under the rubble or whatever.
That will take me out of my chair. I will fucking like, I will blow a funny fuse laughing at that.
Because it's like regeneration's cool. Like, you know, you chop off a tail off a lizard, it'll grow back and stuff. But like regeneration should have limits. If you are turned into a paste, can you regenerate from that? If you're Wolverine, sure, why not? But like this is One Piece. We all do two-town shit, but I still feel like, you know, for villains, there should be a significant thing. Like, I know that Luffy has not actively killed anyone in the series, but
yeah, there were a couple times where I was like, that motherfucker is dead. But yeah, I don't think it's been like an active, like, I'm gonna kill your ass type shit. Yeah.
That's part of his, I think that's how they've maintained this idea that he is a pure heroic nature and that he does not actively try to kill people.
Imagine if Oda did, we'd see the craziest kills ever. Like, I'm picturing Luffy, like, throwing his fucking arm out and grabbing a dude on the top of his head and then just spinning his wrist like 900 degrees and the dude's neck is just like, I'm picturing crazy Luffy kills with this rubber shit. Yeah.
Wine bottle, and he's just like, I will take a toast of your blood.
Just like putting his arm like in somebody's mouth and just stretching all the way through.
Oh yeah, hit him with some like Plastic Man shit where he just fits his body into every orifice and just plugs you up.
Oh god.
It's like, I got your heart.
Yo. That'd be fucking insane. I love this like last spread though, because like Luffy is still holding on to this man's like scruff. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
while he's loading up this gigantic Onigashima-sized coated fist, and he's like, this is going to hit you, motherfucker. Come here.
Yeah.
And he's like grabbing him by the neck, like, I'm about to fold your shit. I cannot wait. I cannot wait until, I cannot fucking wait until this fucking punch connects, bro. You guys think that this will be the one to end it then?
I think it should. It should.
I mean, he's doing a lot to make sure it connects. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's not like a chance of dodging. It's like, no, this is going to hit you. This fist is big as shit.
Together and go, now kiss.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be a kiss goodnight. You know, like I think it's gonna be toast for him.
But usually when it comes down to it, like we see something that is an obvious ultimate attack from the villain before defeat. You know what I mean? Everwhite from Doflamingo. Where he uses his awakening and turns everything into threads. Like, he goes up against the final Kong gun with like this giant fucking wave of thread that's clearly an ultimate attack. You know what I mean? Like Katakuri, you know, the same thing. Like, we saw something that was a very clear indicator that this is his ultimate final attack. I feel like we just haven't gotten that from Kaido yet. So unless the next chapter starts, or whenever we get the continuation of this scene, unless Kaido goes, all right, fuck it, I'm gonna have to use everything then, and then like goes into what we can assume to be his final attack, I think that even if this attack lands, Kaido will still have maybe one more thing to do.
So I had a few thoughts about it, and like the very final panel, like I don't know what this face is, like I don't know what this expression is showing, because it's Kaido like in his dragon form, and I don't know if this is like shock. I don't know if he's accepting it.
Yeah, it's hard to read the emotion.
Yeah, but like there's like one of two, I think, conclusions that I think is in Luffy's head. Like, one is like, I punched this dude and he goes like through this fucking island, and the other option is like, what if Momo does do what he's telling him, and Momo does move the island, is Luffy's intent here to punch Kaido into the ocean?
Okay,
where his
just
fruit
win.
no longer works.
Yeah, win with like an out of bounds or whatever.
Yeah,
instead of like a 0 HP defeat.
Yeah, like punching him into the ocean, and then if not, like punching him over like the island, like I feel like would definitely destroy the island. But I feel like Kaido isn't going to be dead from this. Like Kaido, like I feel like this is probably where Luffy poops out. He's like, all right, I've done my biggest thing, I'm done. And Kaido's not gonna die, but I feel like Kaido, not from this. I feel like what I can see is Kaido like standing up, being like, I'm really out of everything now. This was a good fight, but like somebody else, like the Scabbards, all come and like killed Kaido at the last minute or something.
I definitely think Kaido can get a satisfactory W, or I mean, Luffy can get a satisfactory W over Kaido without killing him. I'm definitely inside of the camp that subscribed to the idea that, like, I don't know, Kaido loses, and then like outside of the view of everybody, Blackbeard comes and pulls up and like assassinates him and like takes his fruit or something. Like, I like that idea, because I can't remember who said it, but someone was like, Kaido wants to die in a blaze of glory in front of a lot of people so that they can see how he went out. If you duff him and then he's getting like transported somewhere away from the public eye, and an assassin comes up and sneaks his shit, that would be like the biggest fuck you to Kaido ever. And I can totally see Blackbeard being on some shit like that, especially if he wants to, you know, complete this trifecta of Logia, Paramecia, Zoan fruits, you know, to kind of have in his repertoire.
So let me so the thing I was gonna say about the lanterns is you kind of was going there too. You said he wants to die like in front of everybody, and so what I was thinking about the lanterns is that they will eventually reach a point where they illuminate the island, and the people on the ground can look up and see this big ass fist coming down on Kaido, and they see him get smashed in front of fucking everybody.
Oh my god, the anime scene for this! I'm already
like people are looking up, and it's
with
just
the lanterns and the colors and the fist coming through the gray and the clouds with the light illuminating it.
They're already looking up like the lantern, we're sending our wishes, and they're like, what's that? What is that? And then it's fucking big fist energy. Just
the defeat of Kaido as the lanterns that they
sent
sent the lanterns with the wish. The lanterns illuminate the fucking sky above and show their wish being granted with the connection of this giant hockey fist to Kaido's dome top.
I see your vision, and I will add Yamato was saying that he said that they would like punch through the island, punch through the island, and what if Luffy punches through, punches Kaido, keeps going through, lands on Orochi, saves Hiyori from that. They go through the floor because it's funny. It's Luffy. He's got it's only cool because it's funny. You know, it's like, you know,
Sure.
Toontown. Punches through. Orochimaru is on fire. Punches through the bombs. Ice is still there. Punches those through the bottom of the island, all the way down, low, close enough that the people can see. The ice melts. Orochi sets the bombs on fire.
And they both blow up.
And they both blow up in a giant firework display.
Oh my
and the
God.
festivals are like, yay, we did it!
Yeah, and it's just raining blood and chunks of dragon meat.
Yeah, and like Kaido and Orochi have like a scene where they're like, no.
No, boom. Punches. It'd be like LMFAO, like the party rockin' scene where they just go from one floor to the next.
Yeah.
That's what I'm imagining
Just
in my
fucking
head.
boom. They just crash it through floors and then they hit the bombs. It's like Orochi was below us, the fucking bombs.
Who put these bombs down here? No, we fucked up.
Because he was always talking about like, this is a place, it's gonna build my arsenal. I'm gonna take over the world with this arsenal. I think he should definitely be hoisted by his own petard. I think it'd be funny that Orochi always wanted to be on top, would be squished underneath someone, and then
Yo.
And then,
it's
you
getting
know,
kind of
just
kinky, to be honest.
guy getting punched through a bunch of things, you know? It's just like, all right, I can work with that. I can live with that. And then, I think that's the end of that train of thought.
Yeah. It's a cool situation and funny situation to think about. No matter what happens, the conclusion of this is going to be a sight to behold. Whether there's a comedic splash in there or not is whatever. Oda can write the shit out of either situation, I think. But like all in all, I feel like this is the final blow, which I don't know. I feel like I'm gonna give Wano like a reread, like directly after the conflict ends. Maybe I'll wait to see like what the aftermath is like talking about or whatever. But I don't know if, and of course we haven't seen the chapter and haven't seen the actual conclusion. But I feel like if this attack does land and defeat Kaido without him going into some obvious final win condition stance, at least, I don't know how I'll feel about that, because that just is so not aligned with the history of final clashes. But yeah, I don't know. That's really all I had for One Piece, I think, this week. I don't know if you guys had anything else you wanted to chime in on before we move into the outro, but yeah.
I wanted to touch on just like one little thing. There's a little bit right on like page 18-19, and then there's also that parallels right after the kind of like solidifying of Momo's determination to do what he believes is right by his family and his people.
Yes. Big Momo stuff. Yeah.
So like when he's like transitioning from, flashback to present, there's like the two panels of like, I'm failing my mother, he's in the dragon face kind of thing. And then I thought,
what page? Page 5.
Page 5.
Yep.
And I thought it paralleled a little bit the end, page 18-19, where the color side is reversed, where it's Momo going, what? And then Kaido staring death in the face. So I think it's nice that they kind of brought that back, as of like, Momo's like, I'm staring potential death in the face. And then it's Kaido staring potential death in the face. So it's like kind of bookending that kind of thing. And then also the stealing of Momo's resolve, which is going to help him generate the clouds that can save Onigashima.
Yeah, dude, I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that little flashback at the beginning of the chapter with Momo and his mom. And yeah, tying it into the final spread is just like really cool. I had not considered that or noticed that or thought about that at all. That's tight.
Yeah. I really liked Kinemon's little speech. I was like, that's moving. That's genuinely heartfelt.
Yeah, Kinemon is like the emotional anchor of the Scabbards, I want to say, just like in his role. Obviously, he's been with us the longest out of all of them. Him and Momo are the two that have been traveling with us from the Scabbards for the longest amount of time. It makes sense that we would have like, a crescendo climactic emotional point, between those two in a flashback before um Momonosuke pulls out his own personal W in this part of his character arc for the climax of this fight and whatnot. So all of that feels really fucking good. And yeah, I'm like really excited for the reread of Wano. I feel like it'll do a lot more for my appreciation of the Scabbards as characters and just like conceptually and how they work thematically in this arc and whatnot. So like I'm super excited for that because to be honest with you, for a while I had been like, man, do the Scabbards even really matter like that? Like I feel like I don't care about these people like at all. But then you get moments like these with Kinemon and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
then,
we're supposed to fuck with him.
Yeah, type shit.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Yato.
I was just gonna say, like, I'm still so fuzzy because I did One Piece as like a one read. I started One Piece, and when I caught up, we were like right at the end of the Big Mom conflict, and I've just been weekly. I've been current since, and I haven't like done a reread or gone back and like reread chapters at all, like even single chapters. Like my memory of like the Scabbard characters and stuff is pretty fuzzy, and I feel like I can't. I feel like I am not really appreciating Wano for as much as I should be. So I feel like I need to reread, especially with how big all that stuff is for this arc.
Yeah,
and I think it'll hit a lot more. But I'm not like expecting to not like it more. I'm sure like when I reread it and get more context and stuff and remember people's names, and
it'll
shit,
only increase appreciation.
Yeah.
I feel like
yeah.
I feel like the Wano reread's going to be important for a lot of people, especially like anyone who will be willing to do it inside of like Agenda Piece, like online and shit like that. I feel like it would do a lot of good to people like that. But I mean, who knows? I mean, the discourse is always going to exist, no matter what anyone does. So it's whatever. But I feel like if you're listening right now and you are one of those motherfuckers, do yourself a favor. Yeah.
Keep God in your life.
Hey, I love you, boy. And keep God in your life.
Keep Nika in your life.
Yeah.
Funny as hell.
I think I don't know. I think Bella, you're gonna say something, but like one more thing. My last thing is not important. Really, it's just a difference in the TCB translation, which I thought was weird.
What is it?
When Kaido's like doing the fucking razor leaf thing off his tail and shooting Luffy up in the air.
Yeah.
In the TCB, he says Dragon Twister Demolition Breath, but he's clearly not like breathing on him. He's like shooting shit off his tail. The official says Demolition Gust.
Sure.
So I was like, that's weird.
That is weird.
That is interesting. Oh, speaking of breath, I wondered if there was going to be a way that Kaido would minimize the damage he would take from Luffy. What if he uses his breath and creates a large thing of clouds? Because if it's enough cloud strength to lift Onigashima and suspend it and direct it, he should be able to create enough force and tension and like lift to kind of like slow down this oncoming unholy haymaker coming down. Okay, like he's just like, please don't squish me. And like he slows it down. It's like, you didn't get squished, but you got punched through multiple floors and kaboom.
Yeah, we'll see, man. That's a lot of things can happen in between the loading of this punch and the connection of it. You know what I mean? And Oda likes to play with cinematic time, you know what I mean, a lot from panel to panel too. So the come down of this punch could take half a chapter or multiple chapters, you know what I mean? So
what if it's like just fucking
just 2 pages?
Yeah, it's like, because we don't know if this is gonna be fast or if this is literally gonna be like a fucking 5-minute punch. Like,
and that's what's so cool about comics as a medium, is that time moves, in moments, not seconds.
Between panels.
Yeah, you know what I mean? You kind of have to make up the amount of time that's passed in between panels yourself, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just cool how they get to play with that in ways that allow so many things to happen in such a short amount of time, like whole monologues as a punch is about to connect to a chin and shit, you know? So
Hey,
you never know.
Just Dragon Ball Z screaming. At least I'm getting a little poetry in there.
Right, yeah, for sure.
Nah. I'm looking forward to it. It's so hard to like, because like week from week, I may not always see like the great vision, and like Oda is so fucking patient that I'm just like, am I ever gonna predict you? Maybe once in a blue moon. We'll see. I'm looking forward to either way.
I love the uncertainty of his storytelling, man. You know what I mean? It's like it leans into the tropes that it uses so often that it makes you feel like you can predict the future, but like at the same time he zags so often where people expect him to zig. Yeah.
We could very much jump into just a whole nother perspective, like Blackbeard somewhere else.
Yeah, you never know. Yeah, we could just go to a completely different location instead of coming back to here next week, and who knows when we'll get the connection of this punch.
Do you think that Zunisha could like use a jet of water from their trunk to change the trajectory and falling of where Onigashima might fall?
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it could be, just
I feel like
shoot that shit.
Yeah, I feel like that could be a cool like possibility. Like I'm sure that trunk can pack that much PSI, you know, into it or whatever.
This like weird image in my head of like those beach balls on top of like a water fountain.
Yeah,
it just gets caught and it's just stuck.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Zunisha is big enough and strong enough to produce that level of PSI. I think that'd be tight. But we'll see.
Yeah.
That's all for me.
That's all, folks. All right. Well, that'll do it for One Piece. And that'll do it for this episode of the Project Manga Podcast. Thank you all so much for watching. If you did, hope you enjoyed it. If you did, let us know. Yato, thanks for joining us, man. Glad that we were able to get you on the main show. We had such a blast on the special grade coverage that we knew we had to make this happen, and I'm glad that we did.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you guys for inviting me. I love it here.
Fuck yeah, man. To many more.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and, like I said at the beginning of the episode, I'll put all of Yato's relevant links down in the description for you. Give him a follow on Twitter. He's like really good with like manga updates and just like really obscure underground manga that are worthwhile. He finds those and puts them in your face. So if you're into that kind of thing, give him a follow on Twitter. Obviously follow him on Twitch.
Underdogs all the way through.
Yeah, absolutely. Give him a follow. See what he's got going on. But
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. And while you're down there, all of our links are there too. So follow me and Mello on Twitter, Eagle on Twitter. Join our online communities like Discord. Yato is an admin inside of our Discord community that is ever growing. So make sure you guys check that out as well if you want to see more of him and us. There's also going to be links to where you can listen to the Project Manga Podcast on like Spotify and Apple and shit. And there's also going to be ways that you can support us directly by checking out our Patreon. Once again, that's going to give you perks like early access to all of our content and additional manga reviews in the form of an entirely separate 6-chapter weekly review podcast covering things like Undead Unluck, Shangri-La Frontier, and other manga from other magazines. But yeah, with all that said, I think that'll do it for this episode of the Project Manga Podcast. Wrapping up, I'm Nox.
I'm Mello Yenis.
And I am Yato.
Catch y'all next time.